Chapter 351. After passing through numerous passages and corresponding tedious levels, what appeared in front of Lynn and Ruth was a huge underground base, which should be said to be located deep underground in Noah College. There are a lot of people here who are monitoring and researching. The most important thing is that they are equipped with the most powerful troops in the entire Noah City. The purpose of guarding their trip is the legendary Night King. King of Night Beasts, Night King. There must be more than just a passage like Ruth's office. It's just the easiest and most convenient passage. When Lynn and Ruth enter the underground base, they also have to go through security checks and pass authorization. That's right, Ruth is not in complete control of this underground base, she is only in charge of a part of the Power Operation 1. After passing the judgment, they were led by fully armed mechanical warriors wearing 30 high-tech auxiliary armor and entered the area that is different from the core of the base, which is the so-called Academy area. Popular place. The mechanical warrior also greeted Lynn very friendly, as if remembering his past. Once upon a time, he also came here like this. After the mechanical warrior left, Ruth said, "Don't worry, this must be experienced. After entering Noah College, you are destined to embark on an extraordinary path. This is your mission, it's also your responsibility. Noah Academy is an absolute elite to enter. You have this qualification and character. You are excellent and have strong potential, Aiden." Entering a huge space, with the lights on, some truths have been revealed in front of Lynn. Similar to the observation deck, and in front of it is a huge transparent window, but the material can withstand unimaginable attack strength. This is the hardest material in Noah City 1. This is. Lynn looked inside the glass window in surprise. In fact, when he entered the underground base, the chip had already successfully analyzed everything below. Of course, it also includes the existence of this guy. Under the light, a huge head fixed by countless mechanical arms is 100 meters high, and its width is incomparably exaggerated, very much like a 100-armed giant in myths and legends. It's a pity that only one head exists here. In addition to those mechanical arms, there is a special insertion catheter that surrounds the head. For example, the observation room where Lynn is now is divided into different departments. The closer it is to the head, the bigger and more important it is. Hint: after the analysis is completed, the head of the Night King, a mutilation comparable to a second-level wizard, has some limbs. There is extraordinary power in this world, and the Noah people in Noah City have used this head to master the extraordinary power, and have achieved certain results. Lynn already knew what he knew, but he showed appropriate surprise and shock on his face. This is the existence you will face in the future, the Night King. The absolute king in the underground world, the king guarded by night beasts. Our Noah Academy is responsible for teaching batches of warriors to fight against the night beasts, the Night King. Ruth said solemnly. Lynn's mind is not on this. He already knows most of the situation in Noah City, especially when he entered this underground base. The chip has already recorded the storage information of the entire underground base, including Noah's technological means. And the truth of the world. He also knows. Everything else is trivial. Chapter 352. The underground world is very large, at least part of it is occupied by the Noahs, and the rest cannot be explored because they are threatened by night beasts all the time. This is a creature that is ubiquitous in the underground world, with a super strong body. Apart from the fact that the number is almost infinite, there is no other characteristic. Further up are the warriors under the Night King's command. They have commanded a lot of night beasts. They have some special abilities, which are very difficult and powerful. The Night King is the top of the underground world and the existence of the commanding party. Noah City is only living in the cracks, barely guarding his own 1/3 of an acre of land. If a Night King really attacks, it is absolutely impossible to resist. Live, The final result is only the end of human destruction. The incomplete head of the Night King in the underground base exudes an aura that can make other Night Kings think that this place belongs to the owner, and that human beings are also the existence of this Night King. As every Night King is comparable to a second-level wizard, then Abel is most likely a Night King, but he doesn't know where he is hiding now. Lin now only has 3 chances to kill, releasing his Plague God mutation factor to obliterate Abel. The power he brought over was not much, far less than 1/10 of his body. Lin and Ruth returned to the school's office. I believe that you also understand our mission and responsibilities. Apply for admission now. As a transfer student, you will become a student of Class A in the 3rd year. Ruth's words came to his ears in an instant. Lin looked up at the classroom, and walked in without any hesitation. Noah College is naturally not an ordinary school like Lin's previous life, but each student has his own special small classroom room, about 50 meters away, where group classes are held, through the corresponding scientific and technological equipment, to achieve holographic projection simulation. As for the content of the class, Lin already has a good understanding of it. There are 2 roads in Noah City, one is technology and the other is extraordinary. The 2 paths are not separated from each other, but inclusive of each other. The 2 have begun to merge. This is the hard work of the Noah people for countless generations. A certain factor was raised from the head of the Night King, and it was cultivated to form the original seed. Then, it was planted, germinated, and bloomed. As a result, the obtained second-generation seed can be applied to the nose. Plant it, use the flesh to provide for it, and coexist with each other. As it grows, it will also bring blessings that provide extraordinary power. There are 3 generations, 4 generations, 5 generations. It is undeniable that the further you go, the lower the effect and strength will be, and only those with the highest degree of fit and tolerance will be able to fuse seeds. The level of technology is that some aspects have reached the level of space, and some aspects are still spinning in the age of steam. Lin can't imagine how to point out such technology points. The theme is to cooperate with the seeds to exert extraordinary power, and also develop armors and exoskeletons, Kainzao, mechas to assist the feeders to provide more powerful combat power. Phi. They are, seed road, seed stage, germination stage, groundbreaking stage, flowering stage, fruiting stage. Technology road, power armor, acceleration armor, wall-breaking armor, honorable armor, perfect armor. Lin's joining the class was just a small episode. Noah Academy had already prepared the corresponding supporting items the first time he entered the school. Chapter 353. With the application of virtual projection technology, Lin's body also appeared in the real classroom of this class. The surrounding environment belongs to a huge laboratory. There are a total of 30 students, all sitting in their own seats. The teacher has not yet arrived, but looking at the countdown on the huge screen, it is estimated that when the countdown ends, the corresponding teacher will come to the laboratory to teach the class. Noah College has only 2 subjects, one is transcendence, the other is science and technology, which are 2 very general subjects, but each class has at least 10 teachers to teach. You're the new transfer student, right? A purple-haired Noah was sitting next to Lin, only about 10 meters apart, but his tone seemed a little surprised. There are only so many new faces in the class. Lin is indeed very eye-catching. Soon, his eyes converged on Lin. Is something wrong? Lin's eyes were indifferent, and he looked over calmly. The purple-haired Noah was very surprised. After all, so many eyes were focused on him. Usually it's hard. He thought that this Noah was just a transfer student who went through the back door and didn't have any real skills. Now it seems that at least in terms of Xinxing, there is still something worth seeing. It's just that there is no such ability in other areas, it is unknown. Thinking of this, he said coldly, "This class will only accommodate elites, and those who are incompetent cannot survive, no matter what the relationship is behind it." The others had interesting expressions in their eyes, as if they wanted to see how Lin responded. Lin directly ignored the other party. Even when he was a wizard apprentice, he didn't bother to deal with this kind of child's trick. Ignoring it directly is the best way. His purpose is very simple, that is, to obtain a qualification in this school. If we really want to talk about knowledge, it is a question whether the teachers in this school have 1% of the knowledge they have. In addition, what can help Lin is probably the knowledge related to the combination of transcendence and technology. Lin still lacks some core high-end knowledge in technology. The countdown is over and the teacher is here. My name is Shirima, I am your class teacher and your science and technology teacher. Extraordinary needs to be carried out in the next semester. Before that, you need to learn a huge amount of scientific and technological knowledge, and strive to pass the graduation assessment. Onama. The middle-aged Noah said so. I have been in the academy for a long time, I hope you will live in harmony. After that, it was class time. Compared with ordinary schools outside, the knowledge taught was considered top-notch, but to Lin, he was like a professional doctoral professor. 1 + 1 equals how many? Boring courses. Boring people. Lin chose to go offline, ready to do what he wanted to do. You can choose to listen to the course, or you can choose not to listen. Then, let's create a character of a talented student, and strive to graduate early. But Lin's departure also surprised everyone. This was the first class, and he left immediately. Some students showed disdain. Sure enough, it's just a transfer student, who came in through the back door, without any patience or ability, just a jerk. I want to be gilded in this school, but unfortunately schools are different from schools. The idea of gilding is doomed to fail. They thought they had guessed what Lin was thinking. Okay, don't pay attention to such a guy. When he graduates, he will naturally suffer. If he fails, he will be expelled, and he will not have to go to one in the following semester. The head teacher just glanced at it. The choice of the students is their own business, and he will not interfere too much. Chapter 354. Noah College has a very large free area, and it will not interfere with what students do, whether it is listening to lectures or whether they are in school or not. He only needs to meet the standard in the final exam. If he fails, he will be dropped from the school, no matter what his background is or what kind of identity he has won. The criterion for the assessment is to create a complete mecha, which is completely pediatric to Lin. What he values is the core technology of nose. I return to my real position. This place can be used as a single apartment for rest. After all, there is a space of 50 meters, and all series are completely considered in it. Even carrying out some not-so-big experimental projects in a small classroom is more than enough. Lin began to connect the chip to connect the Noah's core computing processor, the cloud midbrain. To acquire all the knowledge inside, the firewall is very powerful, and the chip also takes a little time. After 3 days, Lin got what he wanted, all about Noah's technology, whether it was a complete mecha system, or waiting for the development of various black technology energies weapons. Most importantly, some research on transcendence. The small classroom has been transformed into his own temporary laboratory by Lin, and he is going to build a pair of armor for himself. Yes, it is different from the large-sized mecha, but the battle armor of the same height, which can be worn. A lot of knowledge needs to be applied to this, but Lin is familiar with it: energy, mechanical assembly, transmission. 3 days later, the center of the temporary laboratory, a thing similar to exoskeleton armor, was split into many parts and fixed with mechanical arms. Lin lightly tapped the void in front of him, and the interactive projection touchscreen technology came into effect, revealing the general model, and with the touch of Lin's fingers, it began to flip. It's almost done, the last step of assembly. This can be regarded as the prototype of the mecha. The corner of Lin's mouth raised a slight smile, and it was the prototype of the third-level mecha. If it is perfected, it can become a wall-breaking mecha. This is only the 6th day of school. If those students and teachers knew about it, I'm afraid they would be so frightened that they wouldn't even be able to say a word. This is very abnormal. It can't be explained by a genius, it can only be a monster. After half an hour, an exoskeleton armor of about 3 meters has been assembled, which is different from the ordinary exoskeleton armor that needs to be worn. This armor is similar to the simple version of the mecha, although it is only 3 meters high, but it is equipped with everything. Interpunct 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 interpunct. The head is a circular viewing angle made of special tempered glass. If the enemy underestimates the defense power, it will definitely suffer. Lin nodded. His preliminary experiment was completed, and the next step was formal, that is, experimenting with extraordinary characteristics, planting a real seed. I don't need to borrow the supernatural factor of that head. My own essence is a perfect supernatural essence, and I have a supernatural origin that is stronger than that. The plague god mutation factor has reached the level of third level, which is far from being comparable to that of second-level existences. If Lin's own power is used as a seed, not only will he adapt perfectly, but he will also be able to exert a stronger power. For the connection to the world, the chip also analyzes the frequency, which can be extraordinary without being suppressed. The corresponding frequency conversion mode has been successfully transformed. In addition, borrowing Noah's mature extraordinary seed root can shorten the time for Lin's strength improvement. Earth. Chapter 355. Double-opened new book, thriller game, From Chainsaw Killer to Hell Demon. 5 days have passed again. During these 5 days, Lin still did not go to the classroom to teach. In the eyes of other students and teachers, he was considered to be completely self-sacrificing, or simply came to guild. It is a pity that the results of coming to gold plating are not very good. Once you are dropped out of the school, it will be an indelible stain on your life. No matter what you do, you will be criticized. It is difficult to enter Noah College, and the result of quitting will be even more difficult. Ruth, the dean of Noah College, knew about it right away. She didn't do anything, as if she was letting Lin's behavior go. Everyone's choice should not be interfered with, everything depends on oneself. In Lin's laboratory. After fully understanding the technology of Noah City, Lin is no longer difficult in terms of transcendence or technology. He is now the person with the highest degree of mastery of Noah's technology, enough to lead the trend of technology. Now is the time to plant the extraordinary seeds. Using my own strength as the source, I will create the strongest seeds that surpass the entire Noah's extraordinary system. After all, Lin's body is a higher-level existence than the second-level head hidden under Noah City, and it is still in its heyday. With the plague god mutation factor as the core source, combined with the partial organization of the second-level head of the Noah City underground base, the strongest seed is simulated at this moment. Lin looked at the training warehouse in front of him and lay down directly in it. Immediately, the robotic arm according to Lin's setting program began to pick up one thing after another and operate it. The most peculiar and most important of them all is a piece of meat that looks like a stone that is stored on the table next to it. With Lin's plague god mutation factor strength, and knowing the entire Noah city better than the Noahs themselves, it couldn't be easier to get a piece of meat. The cultivation chamber has been opened, and with the closing of the hatch, the robotic arm inside the cultivation chamber also begins to move. The first is a full body scan. Then lock the position, 3 inches below the navel. If you follow what Dongfeng said, it is where the danchin is. The scalpel stretched out and divided Lin's own clothes. The scalpel here is formed by a laser, cutting the clothes without damaging Lin's skin. 0 For the design of this very special training warehouse, Lin has used the highest level of the entire Noah technology, and also added some of his own creativity. Even if he gets that to Wizard World, it is still of great value. Stab it. The laser knife incised Lin's abdomen. Due to the laser, the bleeding has been initially stopped, and the destruction will not prevent the blood from flowing out. Next is the rest of the operation. The robotic arm obtains the prototype of the extraordinary seed prepared by Lin in advance from the special embedded channel. 3 days later, Lin opened his eyes in the cultivation warehouse, and the hatch opened as the faint white nutrient mist dissipated. Lin took 2 steps unsuited to it. At this moment, he is very different from before. Chapter 356. First of all, the transcendent seeds have been thoroughly planted, and they have taken root in his danchin position. Afterwards, they can gradually grow and sprout under the nourishment of the body. From Lin's point of view, it is to disguise the essence of his own power and use the extraordinary path of this world to exert it. Suppression and loss. Because of my extraordinary seeds, the growth is completely dependent on my own plague god mutation factor. When all plague god mutation factor 1 is injected, my strength will be comparable to the 3rd level existence in this world's manifestation. It is equivalent to turning the wizard Lin into the cultivator Lin. The strength is the same, but the form of expression is different. Originally black moisturized by the vitality of transcendent seed, the short hair of color 30 became slender and fell on the shoulders. The cheeks were very fair, there was a small mark between the eyebrows, and the eyes were very bright. Lin has a smile on his mouth, and now he has no worries. Who would dare to say that he is not a Noah from the crypt world with the red-rooted seedlings? Time passed slowly for a month. Still in the lab. Noah's extraordinary system is based on the 2nd level head, which is nothing more than the seed stage, the germination stage, the groundbreaking stage, the flowering stage, and the fruiting stage. Kai Kai. Accompanied by the dazzling electric light, Lin seemed to hold a thunderball full of destructive energy in his hand, and then extinguished instantly. I didn't expect that the ability I brought from my groundbreaking period was actually the attribute of thunder and lightning. Lin's expression is a little bit, maybe it's because of this body, it's more in line with the thunder attribute. The seed stage at the very beginning of the transcendent path is the cultivation stage, and there is no way to give any feedback to the cultivator. Instead, the cultivator needs to take a large amount of high-energy substances to provide the seeds for growth. When the germination stage is reached, a special biological enzyme will act on the cultivator's body, improving his physical quality and making him inhumanly powerful. Breaking the ground is a superpower born from the growth and germination of seeds in the cultivator's body, combined with the cultivation of their own body hormones. Maybe it's the 5 elements, or it's derived from the body, or it's mental ability. The transformation of the thunder element is quite satisfactory. Then I'll be the Thunder King. It took him a month to make his extraordinary seeds reach the results of the groundbreaking period. If this is spread, it will cause earth-shattering problems. All Noah's eyes will converge on Lin. Give me another 2 months, I can advance to the result deadline and give birth to my own supernatural fruit, which is probably comparable to the stage of an official wizard, but unfortunately it is only a single. No official wizard is comprehensive. Roughly converted to 830, it is almost the level of 10 result periods that can resist a formal wizard. I don't need corresponding resources. For me, my plague god mutation factor is the best source of resources. The passage of time is like a big river, flowing endlessly, but it cannot be undone. A semester at Noah College is not very long. It only lasts 10 months. Lynn has wasted 2 months, and he still hasn't attended a class. Almost all the classmates and some teachers in Class 3A almost forgot about Lynn. And Dean or Ruth finally couldn't sit still. Chapter 357. Lynn's identity in Noah City. Aidan has a different weight for Ruth. Aidan's parents used to be Ruth's elders, and they had a great influence on Ruth in her life. So he couldn't look at the children of his elders and just go on degenerate and decadent. Although, it may violate the rules of Noah Academy. But her power is enough to suppress everything. In the laboratory, Lynn is conducting the current extraordinary road experiment. If the experiment is successful, he can increase his strength to the strongest among the Noes. After that, go outside the barren, explore the barren, and see what lies in the depths of the barren. The other is to find Abel's bot lane. Those secondary existences in the crypt world are the best people to ask. As a high-level existence in the crypt world, Lynn has a reason to agree that they both know some common information about each other. Communication is the second greatest desire of intelligent life. The door of the laboratory suddenly rang, and someone was calling Lynn. With a thought, Lynn turned on the virtual projection screen. Is her dot? Give me an explanation, Aidan. Do you still remember how you told me how you took the oath when you entered school? Ruth looked at Lynn with hateful eyes. He didn't even enter the laboratory, but gave lectures at the door. Ruth was really disappointed with Lynn's actions. She desperately needs an explanation now. Lynn had considered this in advance. We are ready to deal with it. Yard, I don't think I did anything wrong. What the teacher taught is not as much as what I have learned by myself. I think it will be useless to continue listening, but it will waste my time. Lynn said confidently that he was going to start to create a character set of Noah's genius. Ruth raised her brows and said angrily, "You know what you're talking about. You're slandering Noah's most advanced science and technology institute. Every teacher here, every piece of scientific and technological knowledge, and extraordinary knowledge is from the outside world. Top-notch, what can't be reproduced. Why do you say that?" Lynn interprets my immature and unruly heart that young people have. It's the highest, but the one given to us is not that high. I have already mastered that part of the extraordinary knowledge and scientific and technological knowledge before I even entered school. Even if it is an independent experiment to study the production and structure of the mecha, it is a breeze. I have now made an experimental version of the mecha, and it can but plunge into battle. Lynn said proudly, "Dean, don't you believe it? Then come in with me and have a look." Lynn, who turned his back to Ruth, instantly returned to his indifferent expression. It was really pointless to play some family activities with these families. Next, go outside the city to find the trace of Abel, the most important thing. He has almost used up what he should use, and now it's time to make use of it. Ruth entered Lynn's laboratory with suspicion. When she came out, her face was full of self-doubt, as if she had been hit to the heart. She actually couldn't understand some technical, money-good things she couldn't understand. "Aidan, you are a genius. An unprecedented genius," Ruth said solemnly to Lynn. "I will handle all your arrangements myself, including the courses you are going to take. The most basic and more common knowledge is indeed not suitable for you. Do not, it should be said that as long as it is the knowledge of the nose, it is no longer suitable." Lynn glanced at her and said something inwardly. It seems that this genius is set up very well. Chapter 358. After Lin's genius was set up, Ruth was completely at ease with Lin. Not only did she not pursue Lin's truancy behavior, but she also helped him find a few teachers on her own initiative to explain the situation. After visiting Lin's laboratory, many teachers could only be shocked with relief. Such a student really shouldn't continue to waste time in the classroom. He should go to a larger and more advanced laboratory to conduct practical operations. Just like that, Lin got enough time, and his laboratory was also relocated to the underground base. It is said that there is a real teacher there to teach Lin more advanced knowledge. For Lin, the laboratory in the underground base is much more complete than his own private laboratory, so he can do it with confidence. Anyway, there are geniuses here. Even if they come up with a real mecha, it is normal, right? Even if the level of this mecha is a little high, it's normal, right? If the response is okay, Lin is even planning to have a double genius, not only a genius in scientific and technological knowledge, but also a genius on the extraordinary road. It's not an exaggeration to become a strong player in the result period into months. A month has passed, and Lin has successfully established a firm foothold in the underground base, and has also been recognized by many professors of science and technology. They even treat Lin on the same level, feeling that Lin's knowledge level is already on par with them, and he is qualified to enter the profession of a professor to study the ancestor's head. Lin really shocked the entire Noah City high-level people. With the joint guarantee of many professors, he was allowed to become the youngest professor of Noah City fashion. It also entered the eyes of many high-level officials, and all the details were dug out. It turned out to be the second generation of Noah, whose roots are red. Now he trusts Lin even more. In the deepest part of the underground base, there are a total of 9 research institutions and research experimental groups, mainly researching technology and ancestor heads, and realizing the combination of the two. There have been some achievements, but there are still further possibilities, all trying to break through the existing combination of transcendence and technology, and reach a deeper level. However, due to Lin's arrival and the fact that he has become a professor, many high-level executives are optimistic. A new experimental group was established logically, the 10th institution. Evolutionary mechanism. The main purpose is to study the combination of transcendence and technology, try to derive technology from transcendence technology, and pay more attention to technology rather than transcendence itself. Lin's vision is different from those of the natives. After all, it is a 3-layer existence, and there is also the wizarding world and the knowledge of the 2 worlds as the background. Different choices of roads have different forms of expression. Rather than study the extraordinary and make the extraordinary become more powerful through the assistance of technology, it is better to start with technology. The transcendent path has limitations. No matter how much research is done, the final result is only limited by the entire ancestor's head. It's not even able to break through to the second level. The head of the ancestor itself is a broken second-level corpse one. Only technology is the road with the most infinite possibilities. Of course, it is only limited to this world. Extraordinary auxiliary technology. Just imagine, when a 100-meter mecha weighing several thousand tons, the whole body is full of extraordinary abilities, and a plasma sword splits a mountain. Isn't it very promising? Lin said, "Nose, your way is narrow." Chapter 359. Noah Institutional College. Lin came back here again. After he had his own laboratory in the underground base, Lin didn't need to come back. Ruth will help Lin to complete all the courses or follow-up arrangements. The high-level officials of Noah City are also very optimistic about Lin, and hope that his scientific research institution will be able to research and come up with new things. Because young people always have different ideas, they can often get great rewards. In fact, Lin came back this time to solve the problem of insufficient manpower in the experimental team. Those professors or some NOAA executives also wanted to help Lynn. Talent is always rare and rare. It is impossible for the experimental groups of the top 10 institutions to let other experimental groups supplement their talents to other experimental groups. Lynn had to come to the school to select talents by himself. It happens that among some graduate students, if there are outstanding ones, they can be added to their own laboratories. After about 3 days, Lynn finally found a member of his experimental team. There are 10 people, and they will start copying in Lynn's laboratory, study some leftovers, deal with problems and sundries. This is their only use. The real scientific research, that is, the scientific research that Lynn is doing, is inaccessible. Whether in terms of knowledge or practical operation. Inside the laboratory of the Evolutionary Agency all kinds of instruments are ready to continue. 10 graduates have become interns here. Whether they can stay after the internship successfully depends on Lynn's opinion. So everyone is very hard-working and serious, because it is very difficult to stay in the underground base, or even find a job that can be used in the underground base. The underground base is very secretive. It can be said to be the center of NOAA City, the center of everything. Groups of soldiers patrol the corridors outside. However, when passing by the Lynn Experimental Institution, I will subconsciously take a few more glances. After all, a professor as young as Lynn is really rare. 1 Misty Lynn, what is the center of our institutional research? 11. A female intern started to ask questions curiously. She was very curious about all the interns present in the organization. 1. After all, they had never been here before, and it was the first time they had arrived and knew about the underground base. Interpunct 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 interpunct. I cherish this opportunity very much. Lynn didn't explain. For him, these interns were just tools. In order to get to NOAA's highest authority as quickly as possible. Except for NOAA City's Rights Department, that is, the top handler of this technology. However, due to the separation of the 10 major institutions, it is said that 10 professors discussed and dealt with it. Lynn wants to change this situation. He wants to turn the technology organization into his own voice. Then, come up with something that is feasible and has huge potential, enough to suppress the research content of the other 9 institutions, and it is inevitable. You don't need to know these aspects, you just need to know to obey my orders. The first is obedience, and the second is research. I will have an opportunity to answer your questions every day. Lynn said calmly, he is not the nanny of these people, what is he really teaching? Even the entire nose didn't care much for him. His purpose is mainly to explore the world and solve Abel's feuding's secondary. Soil. Chapter 360. Lynn can make himself endure without eating anything for a few days, but if he has the opportunity to eat, Lynn still wants to keep his body functioning normally, so Lynn doesn't approve of a hungry and full life like them. It's just that Lynn knows that everyone has a longing in their hearts, that is, if a person is really hungry for a few days, he sees food. I really want to be able to eat as much as I can, so that I can achieve a sense of satisfaction. Lynn thought that Robert and Williams in front of him should belong to such people. Lynn didn't pay too much attention to it, and he ate these things directly. When Lynn ate these things, he also looked at the sky outside. because Lin had to let himself take advantage of the students at Noah College to go to the dean to extend his vacation. Lin didn't want to have too much contact with those students, because Lin thought that they were all little brats compared to Lin, and their minds were still very immature. If it was really some senior students, Lin would have a good conversation with them. After all, relatively speaking, senior students allow him to have a plan for his life. Are you ready to let yourself enter the society and do something? When Lin was thinking about this, Robert also said to Williams, "I said that you also had to go back to Noah College this time, and let us do a summary before graduation. I think we might as well let someone else replace it. This will really affect the time of the two of us, and make them miss the assessment of participating in the Mayan mercenary group. As a result, the two of us can only be alone now." Williams shook his head, and he also said to this Robert, "I missed the recruitment of the mercenary group. It doesn't matter, but the school is the big deal. Without the graduation certificate, we don't have a serious identity. As long as we get the diploma, any mercenary group is willing to recruit us, unless those super large mercenary groups may be dismissive of people like us. But as long as we have the opportunity to be assessed, I still believe that we can pass the assessment, so we don't have to worry at all." With Lin next to him, he heard that the two of them actually belonged to the same academy as him. And now the two of them have completed their graduation internships. Ready to come back to do final graduation preparations. If this is the case, Lin is interested to see what the two of them are going to do, and now Robert is also talking to Williams. "I think the two of us shouldn't get involved with those people. Why don't we join a small mercenary team? This will save us playing those intrigue tricks with them." When Lin heard that the two of them were choosing a hotel for themselves, Lin felt a little moved. It was because Lin felt that if he seized this opportunity, he would be able to see how capable the two of them were. If you are good at it, you can pull it to your side, so that the three of them are at least suitable for forming a new mercenary team. Chapter 361. This way, Lin doesn't have to think about which mercenary group to join. Lin could hear it from the tone of the two of them just now. The two of them are quite confident in themselves, otherwise they would never say that they can easily pass the recruitment test of a large mercenary group. Because the large-scale mercenary group still has strict control over some inexperienced newcomers. It is necessary for them to have excellent combat effectiveness and at the same time have a good talent of 30, so that they can develop in the future. So if these two people really have this kind of confidence, Lin thinks at least in terms of talent and combat effectiveness, they should have their own unique skills, or even some skills that are popular among the masses. But Lin, who can also show a relatively strong power, was thinking about this. Williams also said to Robert, "The two of us should pay attention. Not only do we need to pass the level of the dean, but also the level of Principal Ruth is not easy to pass. It belongs to an authentic female devil. He doesn't just look at our combat effectiveness. He also needs to be evaluated in other comprehensive aspects. If he fails the evaluation, he will definitely not let us pass the test directly." When Lin listened to this, he didn't know what kind of temper the headmaster had, but he just knew that the headmaster of Noah College really belonged to Ruth. He heard this name on the day he entered school, but it was only limited to the day he entered school. Then Lin kept himself in a state of retreat and cultivation, until now his body has reached the result stage. When he had the corresponding ability of a wizard, Lin only left the customs, although it is said that if Lin is compared now, Lin thought that he was only a junior wizard, but when he was in the world of the crypt, he could already be regarded as a quasi-master. When Lin was eating these things, Lin was thinking about how to get in touch with the two of them. Robert also said to Williams, "I don't know our alumni when I go back to school this time. Who will come back? Who of our classmates can come back? Maybe this time we can meet more cordially. It's just that everyone didn't come back at the same time." It really makes people feel a little pity. Otherwise, we can see how high they have grown. I really want to take a look at the big fat fire phoenix, and see how he is cultivating the fire element. I really can't imagine having a fat magician like him. Lin listened to the two of them chatting, and didn't shy away from others at all, because there were hardly many guests at this time. So it was said that the two of them chatted more casually, but Williams also glanced left and right. When he saw Lin, he just nodded to Lin and said hello. When Lin saw Williams' attitude, Lin was very happy. Lin also said to Williams, "Hello, two seniors, I'm also a student of Noah College. This time I'm going back to Noah College to do some things." Chapter 362. Williams didn't expect that the young man in front of him was also a student of Noah College, if he was looking at the graduates. The actual appearance of the exhibition is too young, and Williams has no impression of Lin at all, but since he belongs to the students of the agreed school. Williams also said to Lin with a smile, "Hello, which class are you from? Why haven't I seen you? Since you call us senior, does it prove that you are lower than ours? Why did you graduate?" When Lin heard Williams' reply, he also knew that this was a good opportunity for him. Lin simply carried his half-eaten roast chicken and sat directly in front of Williams and the others with wine. He looked familiar. As for Williams and Robert, they didn't say much. After all, these are all alumni of one's own, so it is reasonable to have such an opportunity to communicate. Not to mention that since they have to go back to Noah College, they may be able to go together for a while. After Lin sat down, he said to Williams, "I'm a little ashamed to say that I'm a third-year student, but I've just registered, and I've been in a state of asking for leave. This time I came back to allow myself to renew my vacation." Williams didn't think as a student who was 3 years later than himself. Williams also understood why Lin looked so young. Williams said to Lin, "So that's the reason. If you have nothing to do, try not to let yourself take leave. After all, for us, study is a very precious time. If you miss the time to study, it is very likely that if you want to learn the same knowledge in the future, you will have to put in several times more effort to learn all of these things." Lin nodded. He agreed with Williams' attitude, because the rules of Noah College were still very strict. It is definitely not acceptable for a student to study without appearing in the classroom, so it is indeed their responsibility to study. But Lin also has his own reasons. If Lin really wastes his time on study, how can he have the current strength? Lin also said to Williams, "Of course I also know the importance of learning, but I also want to break through the barrier, so there is no way but to let myself retreat until now, and then come out again. If possible, I'd rather let myself study hard, so that I can learn more things, instead of just breaking through the existing realm now, which really takes some time." When Lin said this, it belonged to the eyes. Both of them were suitable for him, the money was good, and they were students of the same school, so he didn't hide too much. But he didn't go into too much detail about it. When Williams heard Lin say this, he obviously paid a lot of attention to Lin. Because he had never heard of any student who was already on the verge of breaking through when he just registered. Although I don't know whether Lin broke through the seed stage, or broke through the 7th stage, or which stage. Chapter 363. Williams knew that when the average freshman reported, it was not bad to be able to have the strength of the seed stage. If Lin is really going to break through the seed stage, according to Lin's statement, he has already asked for leave. If it takes more than 2 months, the academy will definitely not allow it. Because it doesn't take such a long time to break through the seed stage, Lin doesn't exist in the seed stage or the groundbreaking stage at all. If it goes further, it will make Williams feel incredible, because it proves that Lin's talent is definitely the best among the best, so there will be such a breakthrough. Although I don't know how Lin achieved it. But it is obviously worthy of Williams' respect, And Williams also said to Lynn. It turned out to be a talented boy, but it made us look down on it, and it also made us seniors feel ashamed. We didn't have such good luck back then. When we were able to go to school, we broke through the key realm. I remember that I only reached the seed stage at the end of the first semester. As for Robert, it seemed that he only reached the seed stage when the school started. I didn't expect you to have reached such a state so early. No wonder the college gives you vacations. If it wasn't for this reason, the college would never allow itself to arbitrarily change its system and easily give a student such a long vacation. Only after hearing this did Lynn realize that the dean had given him an exceptional vacation, because Lynn had no idea what system the students had. Or if there is a routine that needs to be broken, Lynn just let himself go to leave as normal, and then revealed some of his own thoughts. And when it was revealed that he needed to make a breakthrough, the dean was very happy. He had already granted Lynn a vacation. But when he heard this now, Lynn understood that it was not such a simple process, and Lynn also said to Williams, "It turns out that there is such a saying. I just went to ask for leave and the dean gave me leave. I don't think I have such a difficult process of asking for leave. It may be that the dean was in a better mood that day, or my luck was better, and I was able to ask myself for a leave of absence, but now the holiday has come. I'm going to let myself go on a vacation. First, I will improve my combat power in the realm that I have broken through, so that I can stabilize the current realm, so I plan to go out and talk about it." Lynn didn't mention that he wanted to form a mercenary group. He just wanted to see what Robert and Williams thought after revealing his thoughts. What's more, Lynn still doesn't know the strength of the two of them. Of course, he must let himself know before he can make the next decision. Now when Lynn finished talking, Robert didn't say much, just glanced at Williams. Obviously, some of the decisions and ideas between these two people belong to Williams. Robert simply made his own suggestions or participated. Lynn knew that this was also related to the simplicity and focus of the warrior profession. Chapter 364. When Williams didn't say much and was silent for 2 or 3 seconds, Lynn already understood that Williams was also hesitating whether to bring himself. Otherwise, there would never be such a process of hesitation, let alone the past. Lynn really had a headache. There is now a part of Williams and Robert's exchange. Now that the waiter brought things up, Williams just took this time to let himself eat and drink. It could be considered that he had some time to think about it, and Lynn was not in a hurry, but took the initiative to change the subject. Lynn also said to Williams, "If possible, let's go back to Noah College together in a while. Let's meet the dean while the students are in class. It should be better. If the students are out of school for a while, I'm afraid that the dean will still ask some students for advice, which will definitely affect our communication with the dean." Williams also nodded, because he knew that if he really wanted to apply to leave school or apply for a graduation certificate, he would have to take a test. Williams felt that it was just through this test to see how Lynn's combat effectiveness was. If Lynn's combat effectiveness met their needs, perhaps this exercise could bring Lynn. And Lynn also wanted to find an opportunity to verify the combat effectiveness of Williams and Robert. After all, if Lynn really wants to form a mercenary group, he must want the combat effectiveness of the people in his mercenary group to be as high as possible. Lynn didn't know yet that if he applied to leave school, he would have to take a test, so he was just thinking about these things. But Williams does know this. After all, Williams has been in school for a few years. "Of course, I know some rules and regulations of the school." Now when Williams heard that Lynn was going to go back to school with him, he nodded happily. Because he felt that this was a good opportunity to verify Lynn's combat effectiveness. If Lynn is really a natural talent, they can get a lot of help in the future if they have a good relationship with Lynn. Williams also said to Lynn, Interpunct 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 interpunct. It just so happened that the two of us went back to school with Len to see the dean. Perhaps with his luck, we could successfully pass the graduation application this time. If the two of us can officially graduate, at least no matter where we go, we can also change the identities of the original Noah College intern, and we are considered Noah College graduates. At that time, we won't have to worry about where the two of us go in this world. When you have a diploma and you can do anything, you will have an identity. Len didn't know what to do or what identity he wanted. Now that he heard Williams say, these Lens felt as if they were cultivating in this world. In fact, his life experience was a little too little, and Len scratched his head because he was really going to exercise. Len originally thought that as long as he had the ability to go out, he didn't have to care about other things at all. Only now did Len realize that it was very likely that he had thought wrong before. Earth. Chapter 365. If it was necessary to have a reasonable identity, Len felt that he had to take this opportunity to obtain an identity. This may make it easier for me to walk, and I don't have to worry like Williams and Robert. But if he really give himself the status of an intern, Len didn't know if it would be affected. Len also directly asked Robert and Williams this question. Williams felt that Len probably had no relevant experience. So I don't understand this. But Williams also has some strange things. Some people don't know about Noah College, but they should know about some things in this world. Unless this person is a cultivating lunatic who has been in the cultivation state since childhood. Especially grasping all other things about the outside world, he doesn't bother to understand at all. Or maybe he doesn't have enthusiasm, so he has this state of Lin. If this is the case, Williams understands it. Why is Lin able to achieve such a high level? It must be a person who is particularly focused on cultivation, coupled with Lin's outstanding talent. Maybe it is possible to achieve such a result. But Fuzzy has no doubts about Lin's achievement and the fact that he doesn't even understand the simplest rules of the outside world. Just thinking of the reasons he just thought about, he couldn't even imagine that Lin came from another world. Now Williams is also talking to Lin. If we go out to do things, if we don't have our own identity, the various teams will not take us in, and the relevant departments will not take us in, so we will definitely not be able to get a seat in some departments of the country. Even if we do things in some families, or do things in some other teams, if we don't have an identity, there is a high probability that others will not take us in. Unless we let them see with our own fighting power, we are indeed much higher than the standards of the people they recruited, which may make them excited. Len breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. If that's the case, Len isn't too worried. It's because Len feels that if he is verified by strength, Len believes that his ability is in line with their needs. Now Williams is also talking to Len. Identity is like a stepping stone for us. With our identity, it is likely to make it much easier for us to enter any place. If you don't have an identity, you may not be able to get in, but obviously you need to put in more effort and experience difficulties, unless you set up a mercenary group or perform a mission by yourself. But it doesn't mean that everyone has the ability and strength to form a mercenary group and carry out tasks by one person. More often, it depends on the strength of the team. When Lin heard this, he nodded directly, because of course Lin knew it too. No matter when you go there, If you have a team, you will definitely be much better than fighting alone. It is because fighting alone can never solve the collective strength of the team. Chapter 366. The problems that can be solved by the collective are based on the wisdom of the collective, but the problems that can be solved by the individual are absolutely dependent on the strength of the individual. Plus some personal wisdom, so more often when one person's ability is insufficient, he is more willing to let himself join a group. Even if a person's ability is good, he is willing to let himself join a group, which will make his battle process easier with the help of his partners. And people are group animals after all. How can they be separated from the group for a long time and let themselves live alone? What's more, the outside world is also a world of intrigue, and it is definitely not so easy to roam. Otherwise, more people would have gone out for a long time, so it must be easier for me to have a partner. Now Williams and Robert are eating while chatting with Lynn. Indeed, the two of them met faster. Especially Robert had already eaten all the things in front of him very quickly. This was after he chatted with Lynn from time to time, and then let himself drink 2 sips of wine, otherwise Lynn suspected that Robert was eating faster. Now that Robert even reached out to William's pile of food, Williams didn't care. Just because Williams had said before, that Lynn, who must not be able to eat so much, was very surprised. With such an appetite for 2 people, even if they haven't eaten for 2 days as they said, it is indeed too much. Williams also said to Lynn with a smile. The 2 of us went around the Alls Mountains this time, and got lost for 2 days from there. We just found our position and came back here. If we weren't in a hurry, maybe we could find a place to have a good meal, but we were afraid that we wouldn't have enough time, and we would have missed a lot of places to eat. But fortunately, we traveled for 2 days and 2 nights, which saved us at least a whole day, arrived at our Noah city ahead of schedule, and was able to report to the academy in time. Lynn listened to William's words and nodded. Lynn really admires people who can have such willfulness. 2 days and 2 nights just kept on the road. If Robert could bear it, Williams could bear it. It really showed their tenacity. Lynn also said to Williams, I didn't expect you to travel so hard. If you go too far, why don't you use some of our other auxiliary equipment? Isn't there any spaceships passing by there? If so, at least you don't have to work so hard, but the place name you mentioned seems to be very remote. Just after Robert let himself eat a chicken leg, he muttered to Lynn. Don't mention this. The 2 of us didn't have enough money to go out with, and as a result, we couldn't afford the tickets for the spaceship at all, and we could only make ourselves hurry back. The journey was exhausting for the 2 of us. Chapter 367. It was only then that Lynn realized that it was because he had no money on his hands that he could only strain his legs. This was indeed a difficult problem for everyone. When you are away from home, if you really spend a lot of money and don't make enough money, it really made them unable to afford expensive spaceships or some other means of transportation. But when Lynn saw that the 2 of them ordered so many things, he also felt that Williams and Robert were definitely big spenders in life. It's as if the 2 of them have no money at all, but they don't have any reference in terms of food and drink. Which also shows one of the reasons why the 2 of them have no money. It must also include the enjoyment of the results of life, so that I don't have more money to use in emergencies. And for any cultivator in the crypt world, in addition to keeping themselves in a state of cultivation, they also need to buy some equipment and weapons for themselves. These all require a lot of money, not to mention repairs. When practicing, you also need to cooperate with some cultivation resources, so that the seeds can germinate as soon as possible. Few people can achieve their goals through some mechanical operations like Lynn, because Lynn's method is the most extreme behavior. Even in this world, not many people can hear that they can plant seeds into their bodies through surgery. Then directly use some catalytic methods to make the seeds take root and germinate, and finally grow up. This is indeed an unheard of method, but the fact that people in this world do not know this method does not necessarily mean that Lin cannot use this method. So it means that something that some people have not experienced does not mean that it does not exist. Some people don't know that there are other implementations out there. It doesn't mean that the outside world is real or belongs to legends. But it belongs to a world where there really is such a world, they just haven't reached that level. Now that Robert was about to eat, he saw that Williams didn't have much, and Robert said to Williams, "I have almost eaten. If you don't have enough, just order some for yourself. I decided to eat these. In case there are other things in the afternoon, it is inconvenient to eat too full. I think you should eat less. If you want to eat, let's have a good meal in the evening. Maybe then we can let them have a good drink and eat a lot. If we drink too much and see the dean looking drunk for a while, I'm afraid that the first impression the dean has on the two of us will be particularly bad." Williams also nodded, Kane Hotsow, and he also said directly to Robert, "Just listen to you. Even if the two of us want to eat again, we won't be able to order much. If we wait for the food to be ready, it will waste some time. Yaren is still here waiting for the two of us. Let's leave here with Lin after we finish eating. After returning to Noah College, let's see if we can pass the test smoothly." Chapter 368. Lin didn't think that everyone needs to be assessed, but thought that the two of them would definitely have to undergo some assessments after graduation. So I didn't say much. After the meal, a few people randomly found a car and sat in the car to chat. Now Lin can be considered to be familiar with Williams and Robert. After all, he has a relationship with alumni. So they had the qualification to contact each other, and now they let themselves go through a meal to become more familiar with each other. Sitting in a small space allows them to have such a communication and atmosphere. Lin also took this opportunity to chat with the two of them about their careers. Now we can know that Robert is indeed a swordsman in the branch of warriors, and is also called a warrior by people in this world. Now Robert only has the title of junior, and Williams is indeed a magician without Linsao. Moreover, he is one of the rare dual-type magicians among magicians, which also made Lin aware of Williams' talent. Because the magicians in this world are determined by the increased number of every detail to determine their talent. Of course, there are some magicians. When they have invisible magic, they may not be able to train themselves to be very powerful. They are also called useless by others. Only individual 5-element magicians can reach the most powerful position. In William's mouth, the most envy of the great magician is the magician who belongs to the 5 elements, and he is also the only one in the world who has all the 5 elements. Moreover, a magician who has cultivated to the position of a magician is recognized by others precisely because of this magician. It turns out that people with the 5 elements can also make themselves successful in cultivation, but it was just that they took the wrong path back then. Now there are also some people with multiple elements in their bodies, who are valued by others in the process of cultivation, and it is not like they were called wastewood by others in the past. Because the number of elements that are easiest to control in this world is 3, and if it exceeds 3, it is extremely difficult to be controlled, Williams also said to Lin. When the two of us went out, we originally carried a lot of money, but you also know that our magician consumes a lot of resources, and he consumes a lot of his equipment. Every time I fight, I don't know how to save my equipment. As a result, I have to find a place to repair equipment every time, and I need to spend a lot of money to repair equipment. It is for this reason that in the end, both of us have become paupers, and we have no money at all. Robert said directly to Williams in dissatisfaction. I also said that your magician is a gold-devouring beast. Every time you use magic, you need to rely on magic's power to replenish the magic power in your body. Each time it is replenished, it is equivalent to the consumption of a large amount of gold coins. How much money can the two of us save in such a day when money is flowing like water? The two of yous, it is not easy to be able to persist outside for such a long time. Chapter 369. This is the result of the two of us making a lot of money on the road. If we didn't have so much money, the two of us would not be able to hold on for 2 months. Not to mention that we had to endure it for half a year. It was really not easy. We even let the two of us together, and as a result, there was no money for anyone to buy the ferry tickets. When Lin listened to the two of them chatting, he knew that the two of them completely ignored the reason why they were spending so much money. Everyone thought this was a normal phenomenon, and Lin knew it. The two of them are very bad two people who are good at managing money. If he is really a budget-conscious person, since he can make money along the way, of course he won't let himself have a time when he can't survive. What's more, even if the magician and war are very resource-intensive, other occupations also require a lot of cost. The fact that others can persevere proves that others have passed their own reasonable consumption, allowing them to have a spending plan that can last longer. The two of them obviously didn't have such a plan. It was just Lin who didn't know how much money the two of them brought when they went out, thinking they had enough. According to Lin's idea, it is very likely that the two of them also have a lot of money, so they have no idea when they spend money, and in the end, the more they spend, the less they spend. When I ran out of money, I found that I had already returned from the mountains. I can only rely on my legs and some simple means of transportation to hurry. Lin also smiled and said to Robert and the others, I remember there is a saying called, the road to riches for poor families. It says that when we go out, we need to bring a little more money, but no matter how much we bring, we can't stand the cost. This is telling us that when we spend money, we must be careful and careful. If we don't count money, then we can use another sentence to say that money is like flowing water. In the end, the result is that a penny beats the hero. In the end, there is no money, and the two of you can only hurry back on your own legs. Interpunct 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 interpunct. Williams also said to Lin with a sigh. Who would have thought that the money was spent so fast, and it was true that the money was spent too much. And I didn't feel like doing anything, and in the end, all the money was spent. When Lin heard William's words, he was able to judge it. The two of them must be the kind of people who don't know how to calculate. It should be the same as Lin's previous guess. Robert is also speaking to Williams now. I've already said that it would take you to calculate. Who would have thought that when you also made a mistake in calculation? The two of them almost delayed their return date today. The few of you chatted very easily, and the more you chatted, the more familiar you became, like friends. Now Lin has also learned through the chat, the two people's personalities are quite good, although it is said that Robert's temper is honest, with a bit of hot taste. But it is also a common temper among all fighters. Every fighter can cultivate well only if he has a fiery temper. Earth. Chapter 370. After Lin and the others got off the carriage, they were already standing directly in front of the gate of Noah College. Now they are wearing school badges at the gate of the school. Lin also took a long time to find the school badge. If he didn't carry the school badge, he would be regarded as someone who didn't belong to this school by default. I am afraid that they will be directly kicked out of the school, and the few of them are dressed differently from other people. Under normal circumstances, those who enter the school to study have their own uniform clothes. And one of them was instructing the school and asked for leave for one day, so Lynn didn't get his clothes at all. He just had the current school badge when he registered. As for Robert and Williams, they didn't go back to their home to get their school uniforms, so they could only enter the school as they did when they were running around. But fortunately, the security guards at the gate of the school saw the school badges they were carrying, and knew that they were probably graduates. Because there were some graduates in previous years, because their bodies changed too much. So there is no way to put on the school uniform when they were studying at school. They also let themselves wear the most ordinary clothes and enter the school with the school badge. This is also a normal phenomenon. It's just that the security guard looked at Lynn's young face, and he also sighed that the graduate's maintenance was really good, when compared with other people. It was obvious that he was 4 or 5 years younger than the two people next to him. Actually, the security guard didn't know that Lynn was just a freshman this year. Robert also said to Lynn, "We just haven't come back for half a year, but it feels like things are changing. Even the security guard at the door has been replaced by someone I didn't know. I don't know this is a new trick. The security guard who came, or the original old security guard took shifts and did not go to work. I originally thought that I could find the familiar feeling when I saw it. But the good thing is the gate. It's the words of Noah College on the gate, and the words of the year. It makes me feel very familiar." 0. Williams also belongs to the kind of nostalgic timid, but Williams is still very excited. It's because these few of them have returned to their hometowns with honor, and many people are doing internships outside, and they may not be able to meet the graduation requirements for a few years. So they didn't dare to come back to apply for graduation. They could only let themselves continue to exercise until the deadline. It's not like the two of them took the initiative to return to school early, Williams also said to Robert. "This time, the two of us have to prove that when we entered the internship with excellent final grades, it was definitely not just theory, but our combat effectiveness was also improved. I also need to let our teacher from that year see if we have lived up to his expectations. I think I am quite confident that I can make him feel satisfied. After all, for us, like the two of us, we can go back to school within a year, and there are not many people applying for graduation." Chapter 371. Lynn doesn't have the same emotion as Williams and the others, because Lynn doesn't have any feelings about school yet. If it wasn't for Lynn taking a long vacation on the first day of school, perhaps Lynn could also let himself feel the time on campus here. But at least Lynn doesn't have this plan yet, unless it's when Lynn's combat power at this stage can be stabilized. Maybe Lynn will let himself adjust again and return to this school when he takes a break. At that time, Lynn may let himself systematically learn about the overall theoretical knowledge of combat occupations in this world and some other empirical knowledge. Because this is indeed very lacking for Lynn, but at this stage, 30 Lynn does not want to make such a choice, because the stability of combat power is the top priority. If you don't have a stable combat power, and just let Lynn reach the result period, Lynn thinks it is useless. Any stable combat power can finally become practical experience, and some more experience just need to be obtained from constant exploration and books. When Lynn was thinking about this, Robert also pointed to a teaching building and said to Lynn, "I don't know where you will study, but we all spent our time in Jinan in this building. It is true that we left our joyful songs and laughter there." Williams obviously snorted coldly, and he also said to Robert, "Why do I feel that the sound of someone's pain and wailing was what was left in those days? I remember someone shouting bitterly and tired when they were training, but I asked the teacher to clean up a lot back then. If you didn't come to your senses at the end, and it was true that you had made great progress in the next 2 years, how could you have finished the final exam with excellent grades? I heard Tony Parker tell me that when you were just entering school, you were so tired that you secretly cried under the blankets in the dormitory every day. When Lin heard this, he directly suppressed the sound of his own laughter. Because Lin couldn't imagine what kind of scene a big man like Robert would be aggrieved hiding under the covers and crying. That is indeed when people think of it, not only can't help laughing, but when people see it, they feel that the current image of Robert has been completely destroyed. Sure enough, when Robert heard William's other embarrassing things, his eyes widened. He didn't expect Williams to bring up this matter again, and he also told him directly to Williams. What's so strange about this? I also said that you wet the bed when you were a child. Do you feel ashamed for the rest of your life because you wet the bed? It's normal, okay? At that time, we had just come out of the house, and where did we experience such devil training? Of course, we couldn't bear it at all. It's not like you magicians spend most of their cultivation time in meditation and cultivation. Compared with us, the spiritual power is particularly relaxed. One is in heaven and the other is spent in hell. Chapter 372. Several people said as they walked, that Williams knew about Noah College relatively well. Obviously, it was very likely that Williams had been to every corner of the school back then. Williams also said to Robert with a smile, "Back then, there were a lot of magicians hiding in that corner. Sometimes we even deliberately tricked other magicians, making them impossible to guard against. At that time, our strength was relatively low. If we use an accurate word to describe it, we should all be considered magic apprentices, not even magicians. Now that I have gone out and practiced for a while, at least I can be regarded as a junior magician. So many years have passed in a flash, and it seems like it happened yesterday. So." Robert also gave up the topic of continuing to pester Williams to reveal his embarrassing incident, and Robert also said to Williams, "Time flies really fast. Although it is said that we have only left school for half a year now, with some of our other time, in fact, we have not returned to school for 7 months. The playground in those days left me with a lot of deep meaning. I still remember that there were 2 deep holes in our corner of the playground, which I stepped on back then. Every day I let myself cultivate in that fixed place, so there are 2 bits that appear. I don't know if I have repaired it now. If I have time, I would like to let myself take a look. After all, for a magician, they just need to let themselves go out and exercise their mental power in an environment that makes them feel most comfortable. So it is said that when they spend more time cultivating, they will let themselves find a school where they feel most comfortable to cultivate. This is definitely different from Robert. More often, they will find a particularly spacious place for themselves, and let themselves wield the weapons in their hands over and over again. Even if they each carry a huge rock, or a round log, they must be able to run like a normal person. Even occasionally, they would carry a log and use the other hand to climb the mountain. This kind of training with the cooperation of several people made them miserable. But it is precisely because of such hard training that they have achieved this result, even though Lin doesn't know much about the world. But Lin still knows a little bit about the cultivation of various professions in this world. So Lin also knows that several kinds of vocational training in this world are indeed the hardest. Including the profession of warrior, and the profession of assassin is also a very hard profession, because the assassin must train his own hidden ability, money, and also train his speed. So it is said that the profession of assassin is also one of the most hard-working professions, not only restricting food and drink. There are even strict standards in training. Once the assassin's profession makes one's body fat, it means that the speed will be reduced. Once the speed is reduced, it is no longer in line with the needs of the assassin's profession. Chapter 373. So every assassin's body is all thin, but very sensitive. Whether it is in life or in battle, they are all the same. There are even some assassins, because they often like to hide in dark corners. The training personality has become very insidious, and Lin has absolutely no good feelings for the assassin's profession. It is because these people have never fought openly and above board, and it is absolutely possible that they belong to any dark corner. For such people, Lin is very guarded, because Lin knows that if he does not check for a while, he may fall into the schemes of such people. How could Lin treat such a person carelessly? Robert is very simple and honest. When thinking about the scenes when he was practicing, he also said to Lin next to him, "To make you lucky enough to choose other professions, when I was very envious, I wanted to make myself a profession like a magician. But unfortunately, after the test of the magic crystal, I am not suitable to be a magician at all. The elements in my body are very suitable for my current occupation, so I can only make a forced choice. I didn't even think about the sudden increase in my height over the years. Not only did my height and weight increase, but I really looked like a standard warrior." When Williams heard what Robert and Lin said, he also smiled and said to Lin, "When Robert first entered school, his height and weight were indeed no different from ours. Even from the surface, he was indeed suitable for the profession of magician or an assassin. But what I didn't expect was that I was finally forced to choose the profession of warrior, and after years of training, I was able to complete the final exam with good grades. This is indeed a miracle, and the character of this guy over the years has become more and more simple and honest because of the influence of this profession." Lin is most willing to contact those who belong to the warrior profession. Most warriors are not particularly shrewd. But he is very loyal and honest, so such a person is Lin's best friend to become his friend. As for smart magicians, Lin is not his favorite. But I don't hate this profession, because the magician's mind is very agile, which is a relative phenomenon with the agility of hands and feet. Moreover, magicians are also because they have smart minds, so there are many things that do not need to be said deliberately at all, magicians can understand. This is also a profession that Lin likes to be transparent. Now when Lin is thinking about this, he also passes the playground and can see that the playground of Noah Academy is still a relatively large playground. Above. There are also some students studying there, and there are people with a career like Robert, who are wielding their great swords there. Of course, the weapons of the warriors in Noah Academy are not uniform, even the great swords are divided into several grades. And there are some differences in the specific shape and weight. Chapter 374. These are just one type of weapons. Some warriors have a big axe, another warrior has a large sword, and some warriors have the most traditional large spear. Therefore, each soldier has different characteristics, and the weapons they choose are different. There are no fixed weapons. There are only weapons that are most suitable for a warrior, and some are smarter, but they are good at using several weapons themselves. It's just that during the battle, they chose a weapon of the best quality that they could have in their hands. Lin also said to Williams with a smile, "I like people with characters like Robert. When I contact them simply and directly, I don't have to be careful at all. It's not as sinister and cunning as facing assassins. I am afraid that when anyone faces a moment, the most worrying thing is that they are like poisonous snakes. They don't know when they will appear behind their backs, and they will bite themselves at any time. Although I haven't had any specific contact with any assassin, at least I know that the most real feeling in my heart belongs to this kind of feeling." When Williams heard Lin's words, he couldn't help laughing. It was true that assassins were the least popular profession in daily life. But assassins are also very popular in real combat, because they can make opponents' defense invincible. You can deal with some people who are stronger than yourself, so being an assassin is an indispensable profession in battle. But in daily life, there is this shortcoming that Lin said, and it is also because of the influence of their daily training. Williams also said to Lin with a smile, Each profession has its own characteristics. It doesn't mean that every assassin belongs to that. There are also many moments that are very sunny, but I just haven't seen them. We have a friend who belongs to this type. When you see it, you will never imagine that he is an assassin. You think he will be a magician. Speaking of magicians, I still have some worries now, because our profession is too expensive, so I can't afford equipment and weapons. Now there are not many magic crystals. Interpunct 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 interpunct. If it continues, Robert and I may become paupers. The money we have saved over the years has almost been consumed by this mission. Zero compared with the fact that warriors consume a lot of their own clothes, magicians digest the magic power that belongs to their bodies, and the most economical thing for a profession like Lin is their own equipment. It's because Lin can have the blessing of some weapons, or not use any weapons. Mainly with the blessing of the weapon, it is also this weapon that can increase the energy in Lin. So for Lin's wizard profession, the staff is definitely their first choice. This is still different from the magician's magic wand, which is more short and powerful. And there is a magic crystal on it. This magic crystal determines which element of magic the magic stone can gain when using magic. Earth. Chapter 375. Therefore, more magicians will choose a magic wand that suits their actual situation. But Lin doesn't know what kind of magic wand Williams uses. But Lin can guess that the top of Williams' magic wand may be inlaid with two magic spar with different properties. It is because Williams was originally a magician belonging to the two-element systems, but there are exceptions to this matter. It's because the magic spar is a general-purpose magic spar, although it doesn't increase as much as the special magic spar. However, some people choose common and ordinary magic spar because of their limited funds. Such a magic spar can boost any other magician of any type. Of course, there are some rich magicians who choose high-level general-purpose magic spar, which is equivalent to their magic wand. It can be used in the hands of any magician, and can also be enhanced. Lin also said to Williams with a smile. A student who has just graduated, who can have enough money. Unless your family can provide you with the money for assisting to buy equipment or weapons, then you are in a state of no money. Even if I belong to a pauper, I am now one without weapons, and two without equipment. The rest is just a realm that has just broken through, and my combat power has not been honed yet. So compared to the two of you, I'm afraid I don't have much money. At least the two of you still have basic equipment on your body. Well, you see, I don't even have basic equipment. Robert is very loyal. When he heard Williams complaining, Robert also said to the next to him, "You are just a freshman now. It's like in the family you said, if you don't buy these things for you, you will not have the strength to buy these things. After all, you have no chance to make money." However, some students are very smart. With the foundation of a good family, they have been able to accumulate some money in advance before they joined the academy. Even I know that some students are really talented in business. Even in the process of studying, they have their own industries operating outside. This allows them to train faster than others when cultivating, because they can use gold coins to buy some resources, and they can equip themselves with basic equipment. Lin nodded when he heard what Robert said. When Lin said that just now, it was just a display of Lin's emotional intelligence. What Lin said was half-truth, because Lin didn't have any equipment, and because he didn't ask himself to buy any clothes. If it's just some basic equipment, Lin can also buy it. It's nothing more than spending some gold coins. However, if the gold coins for high-level equipment are higher, it will cost a lot of money. Even for some equipment, gold coins are not specially used for trading. Chapter 376. For the transaction of middle-level or high-level equipment, usually the seller will ask for some energy spar, and these energy spar belong to some of the different departments. There are also general-purpose spar stones, which can be used by all occupations, so good equipment is always in high demand. Lin said this mainly to reassure Williams and the others. That is, Lin is not as good as them when compared to them. Lin is a very smart person. He knows what he should say to himself, which can comfort others and make others feel happy. After all, for Lin to say a few words like this, is there any loss? On the contrary, if Lin University 30 shamelessly tells others that he is just not buying equipment now. If you buy it, you have enough money in your hand, or you simply make yourself laugh at Williams, if they are in a poor state now. Lin will never be able to make friends. So being able to say something like this belongs to Lin's character and also belongs to Lin's emotional intelligence, which is quite online. Even if he is 4 or 5 years younger than Williams and the others, at least he knows what to say. When Williams heard Lin say this, he also smiled and said to Lin, "There are many smart people in this world, and their smart directions are different. Some people are smart, and when they reach the talent for cultivation, they can quickly cultivate to the realm they need. Some people's intelligence is used in business. They can make themselves have a lot of money despite their low combat effectiveness. It is precisely because they have their own unique ability in business. Some people have their own unique abilities when it comes to making weapons or making medicinal materials, so it's enough to allow them to develop their abilities to the maximum. No matter which of your abilities is developed, you can let yourself have money, and there is no shortage of opportunities for you to earn money." Robert also said to Lin with a look of admiration, "I just envy those who can make money. They can use their own money to buy any weapons and equipment. It doesn't look like I'm about to become a pauper. The most important thing for me now is to make sure that after I get my diploma immediately, I will seize the time to find an opportunity to make money to repair my weapons and equipment. If I don't repair these equipment and participate in a few combat missions, maybe the equipment on my body has become a pile of broken metal. If only I could give myself the ability to make money. It's a pity that I don't have these talents in this world at all. I really want to see what is in their heads that can make them make money." Lin nodded. He still admitted to these, because Lin knew that this world and other worlds still have common places. Any skill is a means that can be transformed into a tool to make money when one can cultivate to a certain level. Chapter 377. Even if he is a tailor, when he can cultivate himself to a certain craftsmanship, he can make money through the profession of tailoring. Not to mention their fighting professions, so it must be the best time to let yourself develop the skills in the professions as much as possible. You can transform yourself into the ability to make money, so that you can continue to cultivate, and some ordinary people can make their lives better. So Lin still understands this truth, and Lin also said to Williams, "But people's energy is limited. Only some people with very strong energy can cultivate themselves very well and make money at the same time. Even if the spiritual power of a person who cultivates spiritual power is very strong, it is because his skills need to consume more spiritual power, not because his energy can really be used to make money. We still need to make ourselves able to do tasks faster and earn more money in the future, or we can directly get some good resources through our own adventures and exchange them for the money we need." Walking and chatting alone, he was almost at the front of the office building. Once inside the office building, he could go directly to the dean's office on the top floor. Now what everyone is talking about is more happy and allows them to express their feelings about the latest episode. Williams also said to Lynn, "It's really good that you have so much knowledge. It's not like a student who has just joined the academy at all. It seems that you have read a lot of books. For you really should let yourself read more books. We all regret it now. There were many things that we could learn back then, but in fact, we didn't study them seriously when we were in school. If we could read a little more books back then, maybe we would have a better understanding of many basic things and have more experience." Lynn still learned about the most basic knowledge of the world through a dilapidated book, so when Lynn saw these trained people, immediately, he reminded himself of these. For Lynn really doesn't have any staff that he can use right now. Moreover, although what Lynn is practicing now is said to be a skill in the wizarding department, in fact, according to this world, Lynn's thunder element is a special element belonging to magicians. Therefore, whether Lynn holds a staff or magic staff, or even holds a magic ball, he can strengthen Lynn. But Lynn has just come out of the state of retreat, of money, and there is no weapon that he can use. Although it is said that he doesn't know what kind of treasure he will get, so that he can be strengthened, but Lynn feels that these things are all based on fate. It's because in other worlds, Lynn's own strength is the most important. All the resources in the outside world belong to the best one that can be obtained by oneself. Chapter 378. When there is no way to get it through normal experience, if Lynn needs this equipment, Lynn will let himself find a way to get it. Instead of saying that it is necessary to obtain this equipment so that Lynn can continue to start his own power, it will not only delay Lynn's time, and it also made Lynn feel dependent. This is really not Lynn's character. Therefore, it is Lynn that is more of Lynn, and more often he is able to replace a powerful weapon with his personal strength. Lynn's thoughts like this made Lynn not in a hurry to get equipment when he didn't reach the realm. But after reaching the current state, let's go with the flow to acquire equipment, which is completely opposite to what some people think. Some people just let themselves have a piece of equipment because they need to get this powerful piece of equipment. So I will make myself work hard to exercise, and finally let myself be able to actually use this weapon and equipment, so their equipment will always be ahead. Because when they get this equipment, they will make themselves work hard to cultivate to the next stage. On the contrary, when they don't have equipment, they don't know whether they should go to normal cultivation. These are some of the differences. Now when a few people walked to the front of the half-empty building, Williams also said to Lynn with a smile, "I didn't think that the chatting time was so fast. I remember that every time we walked from the gate of the school slowly, if we walked around the current road, it would take us half an hour to get here. Unless we wear some clothes to enter like other students, we can save half of the time, but obviously this time I feel that it will take more than 10 minutes. There are some lazy students who go so far when we wait, we will let ourselves ride a car, which can be more convenient, and we don't have to be so anxious today." Lynn also nodded. They really didn't have to worry, because it was still the time when the students were in class. No one would disturb their communication with the dean at all, not to mention that they had already walked to the door of the office building. Robert also said to Williams, "Now it's time for the two of us to go through 5 trials and 6 generals. I hope this time we can pass the trials smoothly. Otherwise, we don't know when we will come back next time. I don't want to let myself come back and try the exam every year. I still hope that I can pass all the examinations at one time and get the graduation certificate smoothly. After all, if an outstanding student like us had to pass the test over and over again, I'm afraid the two of us would not dare to say something that would satisfy us." Lynn didn't know if the two of them said this, it meant that the exam was really difficult, or whether it was the strength of the two of them. He is not particularly strong, but he is a bit stronger than others, so he has such worries, But Lin thinks that since it is an exam, the difficulty is fixed. Even worrying is useless, because even if it is worrying, the dean will not leave them sympathetic and take care of them. Chapter 379. If the dean really did something they shouldn't have done, let them take the initiative to reduce the difficulty. I am afraid that the reputation of Noah College will be ruined in half, because the Noah College in Noah City has a long history. It is precisely because of this academy that not only can we learn a lot of knowledge, but every graduate has a guarantee of quality. Let some mercenary groups, and some other organizations, when they use it, they are very square-minded, because they are not, but the quality of teaching is strict. Even the assessment for graduation is very strict. Those who can get a graduation certificate from Noah College are all very good people. Even if it has been through several consecutive exams and failed, in the end, only those who can get a certificate of completion from Noah College are asking themselves to seek a career. There are also some people who pay more attention to such people, because they can get the certificate of completion. Although it is said to prove that he is unqualified in the examination at Noah College, he actually has certain abilities. So the graduation certificate of Noah College can be described as a golden signboard, just like the graduation certificates of those famous universities in Lin's memory. Now Lin is comforting Williams and the others. As long as you have the strength, are you still worried that you won't pass the test? It's just the same test as you remember. Do you have anything to worry about? If you were really unprepared, you probably wouldn't be standing here today. It must be because you are all very sure in your heart that you will be able to pass. So you don't need to have any hesitation at all. On the contrary, if you hesitate, it will cause your own tension. This is not the best state at all. Take part in the exam. Williams reacted quickly. Obviously he already understood what Lin meant. It is true that even if they are nervous, it is of no use at all. It is better to relax themselves as much as possible now. On the contrary, if they took part in the exam when they were in the most relaxed state, they would be able to rely on this state. Interpunct 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 interpunct. It may be possible to pass it smoothly. Now Williams is also surrounded, and several people in the Robert Scenic area are also standing in front of the door of the half-empty building. Robert took a deep breath, as if he had made up his mind. Seeing this, Lin knew that Robert was honest. But not a stupid person, Williams said to Lin with a smile. This time we need to face our last exam in Noah College. If we pass, East Asia College will be our alma mater in the future. I don't know if you are ready this time. If you can also pass the normal test, I am willing to take you and let's find opportunities to make money together. This can also increase your combat effectiveness quickly. Only in real battles can a person's combat effectiveness be increased the fastest. During William's chat along the way, he felt that Lin was really good. Now he also has this decision and said it directly. Earth. Chapter 380. When Lin heard this, he was stunned, because Lin didn't know what test he needed to do. Because Lin always thought it belonged to Robert, the two of them just needed the test, and as a student who hasn't graduated yet, how could Lin be qualified to take the test? Lin also directly asked his own question, and now Williams knows why Lin has always been so relaxed. It turned out that Lin didn't know this rule, which made Williams smile wryly. It's because Williams didn't think that a student didn't even know the school's exam rules. I really don't know if he is gifted. There's no need to go to school to study. It's really like what Lynn said. He was asked to ask for leave just after applying for one name, such a long leave. Williams didn't go upstairs at all. Williams was also standing here, and he said to Lynn, "If you want to leave school to exercise outside, you must have a certain strength before you are allowed to go out, so there must be a leave procedure and a test that you have such strength. If you do not have the appropriate if you are strong, no one will give you a normal vacation, so everyone who wants to take a long vacation must pass the test. Even if this test depends on whether you need to exercise or not, it is also to ensure the safety of everyone who goes out. If the combat effectiveness is insufficient, it is very dangerous to go out." Only then did Lynn know that there was actually such a rule, but Lynn was not nervous about such a test. If it is just to prove whether he can go out or not, Lynn thinks that his current status should be in line with being able to go out. Lynn's combat power has not yet been raised to the highest level, but at least with the current combat power, Lynn feels that it already meets the needs of wizards. How can you fail the Noah College test? Now Williams is also talking to Lynn. If you can pass these tests, we are really willing to go out and exercise with you, but if you can't pass, we have no other good idea. 0, Lynn nodded when he heard this, because he had already thought about this issue just now. Now, when he heard Williams say this again, Lynn simply said what was in his heart. Lynn also said to Williams, "Don't worry, I will definitely pass the test. I believe in my ability and strength, and I want to set up a small mercenary group this time. In this way, we can gather our like-minded friends together. Although we are not as powerful as the big sports teams, we can learn the tasks we like. Not only will it allow us to make money by completing tasks, but it can also measure the purpose of our tasks, whether it is to exercise ourselves or to make money, or to find equipment for ourselves." The purpose of Lynn's words is very simple, that is, everyone can take tasks according to the needs of the purpose. Can achieve the best corresponding cooperation, not only make money, but also achieve their own goals. Chapter 381. When Williams heard Lynn say this, he no longer bothered about whether Lynn could pass the test. Because he thinks that if Lynn has confidence, there should be no problem, but Lynn wants to become a mercenary group. Williams felt that further research was needed, but now is obviously not the time to study this matter. Williams also said to Lynn, "Let's go to the dean first, and we'll talk about it after we've done our test. If everyone really agrees with what you said, it's okay to do so. The most important thing now is that we can successfully get the procedures we need. This is the most basic condition for us to study other things next." Lynn also nodded. He really knew the truth. In this case, Lynn felt that there was no need to let himself and Williams continue to stand here, and everyone continued to walk upstairs. When they got upstairs, they also found the dean's office smoothly. Of course, this is also because Lynn was here the last time he asked for leave. Of course, he is familiar with it. And Robert and the others have lived here for so many years, and they even know where the dean's office is. So they have been able to find it easily, but Robert was a little afraid, and Robert said to Williams, "Let's be careful. The dean is a very serious person. I asked him to clean up many times back then. I don't want to be cleaned up by him again. In those days, every time I made a mistake, I was trained in this office, and I also had to be punished. Whenever I saw this office, there was a little conditioned reflex. Seeing this office, I feel that my combat effectiveness has declined. If this time was not for myself to get my diploma, I would never enter here." Lynn didn't think there was anything scary here, but when he heard Robert's words, Lynn made himself smile. When a soldier like Robert was so timid, Williams said to Robert, "You are no longer an apprentice. You are already a real warrior. Do you still have any fear? Besides, the dean will not do anything for himself. After all, you haven't made any mistakes. What's more, even if you want to come back here in the future, you won't have a chance. Don't take advantage of this opportunity to take a look at the place where you can remember the most deeply together. When Robert said this, Lynn had been looking at Robert the whole time. Now, after Williams finished speaking, it was obvious that Robert's face changed a few times, and it was also obvious that he seemed to be much more relaxed than before. This shows that Robert has really figured it out now. And Robert did indeed have the identity of a student and apprentice here, turning himself into a true warrior who can go through hundreds of battles. If there is still this fear at this time, it can only prove that Robert has not really matured. Chapter 382. If Robert still has if there is fear, Lynn thinks it can only prove that Robert has not grown up. The current result is not bad. Lynn soon knew that Robert had done his ideological work after seeing Robert's adjustment. Of course, this is a very simple truth. Even if you were too afraid of a place, this place is not as dangerous as the abyss of the devil. So as long as you can figure out these reasons, you can adjust it. Lynn doesn't feel that this office belongs to this office. So he wasn't affected at all. Now when Lynn was thinking about this, Williams also looked at Robert and said that he was ready to knock on the door of the office. Robert is also looking at Lynn as if nothing has happened, knowing that Lynn has never experienced the kind of pain they had in those days. So I still don't know how powerful these are, but now is not the time to talk about them. So Robert just nodded to Williams. Robert said that he was ready, and Williams also knocked on the dean's door. Now the dean also saw Robert after opening the door. Several of them stood at the door for a graduate student like Robert. Especially when there were such naughty people back then. The dean was very impressed, and he directly let Robert and the others in. When he saw Lynn, the dean had already forgotten a little who Lynn was. When Lynn explained her situation, the dean realized that the person Ruth was looking for belonged to Lynn. He didn't expect to take the initiative to come to the door today, and the dean also said to Lynn, "You are making me suffer. The principal has been talking about your situation in my ear every day for the past few days. How could there be a student like you who just came to the school for a day and left directly? If I had known that it would take you so long, I would have asked myself to think carefully about whether to give you this vacation. Even now, I already regret it. Your matter is a little serious now, and I can't handle it myself. Whether you want to go to school or make other choices, you have to wait for the principal to come." When the dean said these, it also affected a communicator next to him. After the communicator was connected, the Dean of Education also talked to the principal's secretary about the situation. And also said that the situation of Robert and the others is because even graduates like Robert and the others still need the principal to personally assess when they are at home. If the principal is not at home, who will be assigned to participate in the assessment? The dean also said to Williams and the others. "How about the money? Hurry up and take a seat, the principal will come over in a while. I didn't think that you just went out to exercise for half a year and came back. It seems that you are growing fast. I do hope that you can pass the assessment once and graduate from here smoothly, so that we can have 2 more outstanding graduates. Robert should be very familiar with this place. You didn't come to this office less in those days." Chapter 383. As soon as Lynn heard the dean say this, he knew that this time he had to face the very cruel witch that Williams and the others said just now. Although I don't know if Ruth is really like Williams, the character they said was this way, in the chat with Williams and the others. Lynn can already see that Williams and the others did not hide anything in these matters. So, regarding the principal's matter, Lynn also believed that Williams and the others would not do too much to conceal that Lynn didn't know how he got through today. Indeed, for Lynn, if he hadn't attended a class for more than 2 months, there was something wrong. but Lin does have his own special reasons, and if Lin really wants to learn, it will delay his real cultivation. What's more, the speed of growth here may not be as fast as Lin's own cultivation. So these things can be considered excusable, but Lin doesn't know whether he can get the headmaster's understanding, and now the dean is also talking to Lin. You will definitely need to do a test with them in a while, to prove that you have indeed been in a state of cultivation for more than 2 months. If you can't prove this, I'm afraid you will be in danger. If you don't get a big demerit, I'm afraid you will be directly eliminated from our academy. You are the first new student in the history of our college who has allowed himself to take more than 2 months of leave without taking any class. Lin didn't say much after hearing this, because Lin already knew that he had to participate in the assessment to be convincing. If you don't participate in the assessment, even if you explain it yourself, you may not be able to convince the dean. Lin just said to the dean, I did have to ask for leave for the sake of cultivation. I said this when I first asked for leave, so we'll find out later when we test. Even what I say is useless now, after all, only after the actual test. Only then will I be able to prove that what I say is true or false. The dean nodded when he heard Lin say this, because he thought that if Lin had no confidence, he would never say such a thing. And saying that now also means that Lin's confidence and his combat power may be matched. Even if there is no match, it will not be too different. So for Lin, it doesn't matter now whether he can pass the test or not. The most important thing at the moment is that after gaining this confidence, the dean of the teaching staff has a little more confidence. The dean also said to Lin, if you say that, don't give me a little confidence. At least when I face the principal, I can still have a little more confidence, otherwise my old face will almost be lost. I don't even know that I was deceived by your kid in the first place, and I was able to agree to your request for leave without knowing it, and it took more than 2 months after I left. When the director of teaching said this, there was a little sigh that appeared. Chapter 384. Looking at the dean in front of him, Lin didn't know that he could cause him such trouble. According to Lin's thoughts, he just used the most normal method of asking for leave, plus some hypnotic methods. Although it is said that this method belongs to one of the countless, it really belonged to the dean of the school that day, and unknowingly fell into Lin's sorcery. That's why he directly approved his vacation according to Lin's statement. Otherwise, even the dean wouldn't dare to make such an unprecedented move. Now Lin is thinking of the time when he asked the dean to agree to his vacation, and now he hears the question from the dean. How could Lin make himself speak out, and what method did he use to get the dean to agree to him? For Lin, this is also a secret of his own. If it is exposed in the future, it doesn't matter. But now it is obviously impossible to hit the muzzle. If Lin really said it now, he used some skills to get the dean. Maybe Lin is not just a question to be tested, it is even possible that Lin is directly involved in the issue of being expelled from school. So now Lin wouldn't say these things so stupidly, but instead he saw the dean's frowning look. Lin knew that the most important key points involved in this matter were that Lin was able to take such a long vacation. Although it is not an unprecedented example of Noah College, it is definitely one of the first among the freshmen who have just entered the school. And Lin's broken record also belonged to the first day of school. He didn't attend class all day, and then he asked himself to take a leave of absence. This point really belongs to Noah Academy. If Lin, who has never been recorded in history, can make himself listed in the history of Noah Academy, Lin knew the second point. The one who made the dean embarrassed must belong to the principal. Williams took the initiative to change the subject, and it was considered to be helping Lin. He also said to the dean, if we can pass the exam today, does it mean that we can complete all the formalities today and let ourselves graduate directly? Interpunct 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 interpunct. I don't know how many students we have this time. Before we came back to sign up and passed the test, the two of us haven't had time to visit our tutor yet. We also plan to see our teacher later if we can pass the test, which will make our teacher even happier. The dean also nodded when he heard this, and he also said to Williams, "You came back very quickly. Then you are not the first batch of people to take the test. There are 3 people who passed the test before you, and they are all outstanding students of your class. Fire Phoenix, your classmate, is also in this team, and he is also one of the people who passed the exam. Whether you belong to the current or undetermined state, if the 2 of you can really pass the exam, you can be regarded as belonging to the second batch of students who can pass our graduation exam." 2. Chapter 385. The dean did select some good seedlings in this session, such as the Fire Phoenix. They belong to those who make him think that they are very good. And the Williams in front of him is also one of them. As for Robert, the impression he gave him was that he was a naughty person in school. I don't know how he has grown now, but his final test results when he was about to leave school were very good. As for Lynn in front of him, he didn't have any evaluation, just because he didn't have any contact. It was just the only leave for that day. So I don't know what level Lynn belongs to. Now the dean even wonders if he really went crazy that day. The reason why Lynn was granted such a long vacation is because he still doesn't know what kind of realm Lynn is. Like if Lynn was really in the first test and only showed his strength at the seed stage or germination stage, there was no way he could make himself explain to the principal. Because if Lynn is only a cultivator of these 2 stages, it won't work at all. Even if he is talented, it is not worth the school to let him miss school for a day, so he was granted a vacation of more than 2 months. But if it is true that Lynn has passed the sprouting period, it is the interest of being able to go to school together. It is because few first-year freshmen are able to let themselves enter the germination stage in the process of learning in the first semester. And it has been able to stabilize to this state. Although it is rare, it does not mean that it is not at all. So as long as Lynn is a cultivator who has passed the sprouting period, it proves that Lynn is powerful. The dean only remembered when he was thinking about this. The dean then said to Williams what Williams just said. "Your teacher is taking the students normally, but it's just a freshman class. I don't know if it's this kid's teacher, but it must be the same class with him. If you can really pass the test, your teacher will be really happy, which means that there are 3 very good students in his current class. 0, as long as people who can complete the test within 1 year can prove that their talent is very good, those who can complete the test within 2 years can prove that they are considered to be of average grades. And those who can complete the test within 3 years at least prove that they are qualified people. Those who complete the test in the 4th year are actually the final test." After the dean paused, he also said to Williams and the others, "For those who can complete the test in the 5th year, as long as they have good combat effectiveness and some special reasons, we will also issue a qualified graduation certificate, but those in the 6th year will definitely have a certificate of completion. This is also because our Noah College has no way to take care of some students who have special things and can't make them come back, so there is a comprehensive evaluation in the 5th year. But every time in the 5th year, less than 10% of the people who can meet our comprehensive assessment and can get the graduation certificate. The rest are the candidates for the normal graduation certificate. Chapter 386. When Lin heard the dean talking about the graduation test, he realized that there was still such a long period of time for the test, but Lin didn't know if he was allowed to skip a grade. If he was allowed to skip a grade, Lin felt that he might be able to learn a little more by jumping into the class. It's like Lin now belongs to a first-year student, allowing himself to jump directly to the third grade, and then jump to the senior year and the final college age after graduation. If this method of skipping grades is allowed, Lin feels that he can see if he can pass, so that not only can Lin graduate as soon as possible, but also allow Lin to hold this diploma. The real thing to do with Williams and the others, now A30, Lin asked directly when he was thinking about it. Can there be such an example? When Lin asked this, he asked the dean to look at Lin again, because he felt that Lin's question must have a purpose. But he doesn't think that after a person has the energy to make a breakthrough in cultivation, he still has other energy to meet other requirements. Therefore, the dean believes that this phenomenon is a national phenomenon in the history of Noah College, but it rarely occurs in a first-year freshman. Although it is said that Lin was directly in the third grade when he entered the school, this is also because Lin's age matches the third grade. So it is said that the third grade is still recorded, but it does not mean that Lin can really meet the needs of a third-year student in the third grade. Now the dean is also talking to Lin. If you really want to jump into a class to study, you must be in the various subjects, not only the outstanding issues, but the highest S level is possible. And it doesn't just refer to the realm and combat power you have cultivated, but also to reach the S level in other aspects, and other aspects refer to some cultural theory courses. If you can cultivate all of these to the S level, perhaps after the principal's approval, you can skip a level to study. Of course, which level you jump to requires you to re-enter the class, and you have to take an exam before. When the dean saw Lin nodding repeatedly, he knew that Lin was still interested in this aspect. The dean also said to Lin, if you fail the test when you enter this class, you will still be returned, so you must still take the test when you enter the class. This kind of test means that you are able to study in this class. Otherwise, after arriving in the class, you will not understand the courses taught by the teacher at all, and you will not even understand the corresponding basics. This will not allow you to study in this class, so skipping grades does not mean that it is such a simple thing, but belongs to a person who is truly gifted. The dean also told Lin that all the students in the academy showed among them, the number of people who can skip grades every year is almost less than 1 in 1,000. Every few years, there may be 1 or 2 students with such excellent talent, who will let themselves choose to jump to the next level and study in the next class. Chapter 387. The dean said this, of course, not because he was idle and had nothing to do with Lin and the others. Instead, the dean is very purposeful to study how capable Lin is, just like just now. When the dean heard the confidence expressed by Lin, the dean felt that Lin had not been lazy and played for at least 2 months. It was because he was really letting himself break through the realm, that's why he had such confidence, and now Lin suddenly asked about skipping grades. The dean knew that it was very likely that Lin really had a high level of breakthrough, otherwise he would never have asked this question. So, although the dean now doesn't know what level Lin has cultivated to, the dean knows that Lin must have passed the budding stage and can meet his own expectations. In the germination stage, it has been completely stable and is entering the groundbreaking stage, such a state. If it wasn't like this, Lin would never have asked about skipping grades, and the dean was also thinking about whether Lin could reach the 7th grade. When thinking about this, the dean also shook his head, because Lin was too young. Even when he was the same age as Williams and the others in front of him, the dean might allow himself to dare to make such a guess. but Lin in front of him is obviously not able to let himself reach the groundbreaking stage at such a young age. In fact, what the dean didn't know was that Lin wasn't just a groundbreaking period. However, the result period has already arrived. Although it is the final result period, it still needs to be in a stable state. But if you really look at it from the perspective of testing, it really belongs to the drum practitioners in this period. From the point of view of combat effectiveness, he is slightly weaker than the real result, which is why Lin has to hone himself. Now the dean is also talking to Lin. The people who can make themselves skip grades to learn are all masters of 5 levels and 6 generals. If you can achieve this, I am very happy, because this is also my unique vision. If you can really achieve such an achievement, it can be considered that I have explained to the principal. Otherwise, even if you pass the test, the principal will definitely talk about it. After all, a vacation like yours needs his signature to be approved, but I don't know why I signed it immediately and approved your leave that day. When Williams heard the dean say this, he also said to Lin, I thought you were a relative of the dean's family to receive such preferential treatment, but I haven't heard of anyone in the school who can ask Ken Zhao to take such a long leave at one time. Even if it's a vacation like this, I never dared to think about it, but you were able to get the dean to sign from you. It seems that your charm is really not small. This time, you must make yourself pass the test. Otherwise, I think the dean will be miserable. He must be unable to resist the torment of the principal. You also have to be careful in a while. Chapter 388. When Williams said this, he heard someone pushing the door in. Williams looked up and saw that the principal had come in. Williams and Robert greeted obediently. When saying hello, Lin also stood up and saluted. It was because he also knew that the principal actually belonged to such a person. If he had been calling him before, the principal would be the devil. But on the surface, Lin couldn't tell where the devil's head was, but the principal smiled directly at Williams. I heard it just now. Someone said to resist my torture. Who do you want to resist my torture? Is it the two of you? I haven't tortured you. When Williams heard this, Khan almost got scared. As for Robert's forehead already sweating, when Williams was frantically trying to figure out a way, Lin asked himself to save Williams once. Lin also said to the principal, aren't the two of them going to take the graduation test this time? I heard that you have to participate in the assessment every time, so of course the two of them will resist you. The two of them also hope that after their hard work and resistance, they can successfully pass the graduation exam, so that they can also visit their teachers happily. The two of them were still talking just now. If they can't stand your test, the two of them will come back this time, but they don't have the face to see their teacher. When Williams heard Lin say this, he and Robert hurriedly said to the principal, yes, yes. Lin is right, that's what we think. The dean of the teaching staff also broke into a cold sweat, and now it's time to explain through Yalini. This matter is solved. After the explanation was clear, the principal also spoke directly to them. So that's what happened. I thought it was some other reason. If it's another reason, I need to have a good theory with you guys. The dean heard that he had already passed the risk, but he appreciated Lin's explanation, because it was not just an excuse. Instead, it reflects a person's quick mind. It is not easy for a new student like Lin to have such a quick mind. Because freshmen may not be able to do these things well, more people may not even dare to say a word when facing the principal. It's not like Lin at all, who can not only tell his own reasons, but also come up with this reason on a temporary basis. The dean also said to the principal, today we need to test 3 classmates. In addition to these 2 students who need the graduation test, there is Lin who just talked. He also needs to test it. He said it when you came to see me a few days ago. That classmate who took a 2-month leave of absence this time also successfully broke through the realm and came back to report. He is very confident in the realm that he has broken through, and he also agreed that after we have tested him first, we will look at the specific results and then determine what he will do next. Chapter 389. When the principal heard that the person in front of him was actually the one who had asked for a 2-month leave, he slapped Lin several times up and down. But I really didn't see anything special about Lin, but when I saw the energy emanating from Lin's body, it was full of energy. It can also show that it is true that Lin has just broken through the realm not long ago, and he has not stabilized the realm yet, so the phenomenon of foreign orders occurs only because of energy. It also proved that Lin did not lie, but the principal still believed that the dean gave Lin a 2-month vacation. It's not a good thing, even without his permission, so this matter involves not only the responsibility of Lin, but also the responsibility of the teaching director. It's just that the principal couldn't let himself reprimand the dean in front of the students, so he must leave some face to the dean. In this way, he can continue to face these students in the school in the future. If he really reprimanded the dean right now, obviously the dean would also feel very ashamed. So this matter can only be determined after seeing the real strength of the student. The principal also said directly to Lin, "I would like to see how talented the dean of the school is for this student who made an exception for the holiday. I also hope that you can let me see surprises and satisfaction. Otherwise, I will deal with it according to the normal system in the academy. After all, we have never had relevant precedents that can make people rest for such a long time. Now that all 3 of them need to be tested, you should inform the relevant test personnel to prepare, and we will take them to our training hall in a while." After the dean heard this, he hurriedly asked himself to contact the relevant personnel. Now the principal is looking at Robert and Williams carefully. After all, this is a student from the graduating class. He still knows him. Seeing Robert's figure now, he is much stronger than when he was in school. The principal also said to Robert with a smile, "Interpunct interpunct 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 interpunct. Although I don't know how your cultivation is going at this stage, but from your figure, your food at this stage is pretty good, and you look like you have a good heart. Although you're not obese, it's obvious that you have to eat and drink enough at every meal, so that you can continue to increase your height and weight. I would like to see how your strength is now." 0 When Lin listened to the headmaster's words, he didn't understand why everyone called the headmaster a witch. Because the headmaster never let himself show the appearance of the devil. Therefore, Lin's heart is also very strange. But Robert hurriedly said to the principal, "I have never let myself lose to training at this stage. Williams and I not only train every day, but we also let ourselves go everywhere to enhance our strength. My strength has indeed increased a lot. I hope that when I test it later, I can satisfy you. I think my strength should be a value that can meet the qualified needs of our test." 2. Chapter 390. Lin looked at Robert's body shape and didn't know what he looked like before, but since the principal said that Robert has changed a lot in the past 6 months, Lin could only imagine that the previous Robert was not that strong, but was very thin or short. Lin felt that it wouldn't be surprising if Robert was crying like this. There is indeed no way to complete high-load and high-intensity training. Even under this kind of training, it is not bad to be able to persevere, not to mention the good results in the final exam that the principal said later. The principal also after chatting with Robert and Williams casually, the two of them felt relieved and prepared to enter the test area. Right now, it's just to let the two of them relax temporarily. Lynn watched the chat between the principal and Robert. Lynn didn't let himself talk much, because Lynn wasn't nervous at the moment, and he was still calm, so Lynn didn't speak yet. Now when Lynn was thinking about this, the principal said to Lynn, "If I really see that you are able to enter the groundbreaking period, even if I fully meet your needs, not only will I not punish you, but I will reward you. If any student asks for a 2-month vacation to enter the groundbreaking period, then I would be willing to sign such a gentleman's agreement with this student. But if I can't even enter the groundbreaking period, I won't be surprised. After all, a semester can almost reach the germination period here." The principal's words were very simple. He was asking what realm Lynn was in now, but Lynn didn't directly say what realm he was in. He simply nodded, which made the principal even more strange. He wanted to ask directly, and when he saw it, it was time for the test. The principal thinks that he will know when he takes the test. No matter what Lynn says now, as long as he can meet his own needs, it will be fine. Because the lowest goal that the principal set for himself is also Lynn's stable germination stage. The principal believes that Lynn has either just entered the germination stage or has just entered the groundbreaking stage, and it is because of the energy distribution in Lynn that such an inference can be made. Now Lynn didn't answer this question. The principal could only continue to infer and think about these things. Seeing this scene, Williams seemed to be randomly answered by Lynn. After the cold session, he felt that he needed to ease the atmosphere a bit, and he couldn't offend the devil. Williams also said to the principal, "I believe that Lynn wants to give you a surprise, otherwise he would never say that. I think he must have made up his mind and can definitely meet your needs. If he really didn't meet your needs, I'm afraid he would have said it directly by now, because then there would be no need for any testing. Not only wasted our time, but also your resources, manpower, and material resources, so you will definitely not be disappointed. I believe Lynn's strength will surprise people." Williams was very smart to judge. Chapter 391. Williams, as a magician, of course has a cool head, since Lynn can answer the principal's question in this state. Except for Lynn's courting death, Lynn must be able to meet the principal's needs, because it is impossible for Lynn to let himself court death now. Because Lynn not only needs to pass the test, but also needs to continue to ask for leave, of course, not only needs to meet the principal's requirements. You can even get a vacation from the headmaster, so you have to have a very good state and fighting ability to manifest before you can get the headmaster to agree. The principal said to Lynn and the others, "It seems that you young people are all prepared this time. I want to see if my 30s can get good news one after another. If we can get good news, it proves that this time you really belong to the standard of outstanding students recorded by our college. Even if you fail, there is no need to lose your self-confidence. After all, there are still so many years for you to come back and participate in the test at any time, but there is only one chance every 6 months." When Williams heard this, he nodded, and Williams also said to the principal, "We try our best to pass the test once, and we can't let ourselves come back to trouble the principal and other teachers. It's not that we would rather come back to see you than let ourselves take the test. It's not good news for any student to take the exam. On the contrary, there is an instinctive resistance. It's just that the graduation exam is one of the exams that we must take. But I believe that Lynn will give you a surprise and a piece of good news, and if there is a surprise, some good news may come one after another in his studies in the past few years. After all, it doesn't look like we have graduated directly." He needs to stay in the academy and continue to study for a few years before he can meet the graduation standards. For Williams, it is easy to guess this matter, but his ability to guess it does not mean that this matter is true, and it can be developed according to what he said. Therefore, it is necessary to obtain Lin's approval, but now Lin has not directly nodded in agreement, or expressed opposition. This also brought the matter into a stalemate, but Lin really looked like water, which made Williams feel that Lin was like a master. No matter what you are facing, you have your own control, so you have such an appearance. If this kind of tolerance is placed on any teacher, Williams will never doubt it. The strength of a teacher. But when this look is put on a student, it can only be said that this student is an absolute talent, because after several years of cultivation, his strength has grown rapidly. That's why such a state appears, if it is placed on a newborn. Williams can only sigh that this freshman is an absolutely arrogant person who can pretend to be very good. But when it was put on Lin's body, Williams didn't think so. Chapter 392. Because of the communication with Lin along the way, Williams knew that Lin was definitely not such a person. So it must be that Lin is really sure that such a situation will occur. And it may also be that, as I guessed, it is necessary to surprise the principal and shock the principal in one fell swoop, and this will happen. Now Williams has guessed that Lin must be in the groundbreaking period, otherwise this situation will never happen. Even the flowering period is possible, but Williams dare not imagine a voice like Lin. He was able to bring himself to the flowering stage when he didn't go to school for 2 months. When Lin was listening to the principal chatting with Williams, he was also a little proud in his heart. But his pride didn't show anything on his face. Now that the principal heard what Williams said, he also said to Williams with a smile, "I think that if you are instinctively afraid of exams, it should be because you are not sure in your heart. If you are sure, there is absolutely no need to be afraid of exams. Instead, there are some students with excellent grades. They just use the exam as a stage to train themselves. They hope that they can meet the exam and give themselves an explanation. You are also one of the outstanding students, so you don't need to let yourselves think about it. For more things, you just need to let yourself take the test with peace of mind." The principal thinks that people like Williams and Robert who have passed their final exams with excellent grades in their final exams. After exercising for half a year, there is hope that I can pass this test. But the principal was also worried that they would have other heavy psychological burdens, so he said this, but he was just waiting for the answer as to whether Lin could pass the principal. Because he also heard a different taste from Lin's words, and now the principal is also looking forward to seeing what kind of answer Lin handed over. Williams had a little preliminary judgment on Lin's realm and combat power just now, and he also felt that Lin was likely to pass the test. Williams also said to Lin next to him, "We are looking forward to your performance for a while. For our graduates, the combat effectiveness of being able to meet the graduation needs is basically fixed. But for you, your realm and all these things are not fixed, and we would like to see how your test will behave like this. We hope that this kind of performance will meet the needs of the students, and it will also surprise us. After all, we want to know what kind of combat effectiveness students who have never attended school will have. According to my guess, your combat effectiveness, Kane Lee's, is not much higher than that of some newly enrolled students, but now that you have a breakthrough, you should be able to leave them behind." Now for Williams, if Lin can really reach such a state. Aside from describing it as a miracle and an absolutely talented young man, Williams didn't know what other words he could put on Lin. Because this is an unprecedented miracle. Chapter 393. If that's the case, and even Williams felt that he would go out with Lin, Lin said that he could directly agree to the establishment of a mercenary group. Even with Lin, a talented young man, he could directly become the team leader of the mercenary group. It is because he has such talent and strength that he made himself the captain, and it is also because Robert and Williams have worked hard for half a year. It's just that they have just entered the groundbreaking period. Of course, they are completely stable in the groundbreaking period. Now, in addition to stabilizing the realm, the two of them have already been able to have the combat power corresponding to the realm, so the two of them let themselves come back to participate in this graduation test. Otherwise, how could the two of them have such confidence? But now, seeing that Lin has just entered the school, he has already been able to have a groundbreaking machine. When this kind of state may appear, it also makes Williams feel a little tormented. But he also knew that this kind of situation also belonged to Noah's Academy every few decades, and it might happen. It is because there is never a shortage of geniuses in Noah Academy, but what is lacking is a person like Lin who has not studied for a day. He is already a genius. When the principal heard what Williams said to Lin, he also said to Lin, "If you really come up with a miracle, let us see how gorgeous your miracle can be, so that we can feel a gratisha prize. But don't forget the situation of a comprehensive knowledge, that is, a person's combat effectiveness is nothing, only the balanced development of many aspects belongs to the masters among the real masters. When anyone wants to have a better future, he must have theoretical study and theoretical research, and actual combat is only part of it." After the principal stopped for a while, he also continued to speak to Lin and the others. Normal combat experience and theories are the most basic theories for a person. These are the knowledge that everyone must master. If a person is also gifted in other aspects, and can make oneself have their own unique experience in making weapons and armors, and even in making medicinal materials, they can survive. On the contrary, those who only have this fighting power and have nothing else, it is not so easy for them to survive, and it will be too late when they truly realize it. Only well-rounded people belong to the best people and the most balanced people, and then highlight their own priorities, which belong to your own innate skills. The principal's words are very simple, and then tell Lin how to arrange his own path and how to make himself have a better future. For the principal, this can be regarded as well-intentioned, because some students really focus on theoretical research. So in the future, his combat effectiveness is not strong, but he can make himself a teacher. Or become another theoretician, as long as he doesn't enter the battlefield. Chapter 394. But a person who only has actual combat power without any theory is at most only the most common member of a mercenary. As for the other things that you want to do, you may not be able to do it. Only after you have experienced many years of experience and mastery, you may be able to develop other things. If this situation is the same for Lin, it is common for all other students. So the principal also reminded Lin that now Williams and the others also have his own feelings, when they heard the principal's reminder. Williams also said to Lin, "You heard what the headmaster said. On weekdays, you must remember to read more and give yourself some insight. Only when you have more insight will you not be in a hurry when you encounter things. The biggest advantage of our study in the academy is not actually what kind of realm we have cultivated to, but that we have systematically learned all the theories about combat occupations. We can use these theories and experiences in our actual battles, and then we will naturally be able to use these theories and continue to improve our combat effectiveness." At this time, Robert also said to Lin, "Experience is a very important thing, and knowledge is also a very important thing. If these two are really lacking, sooner or later, you will feel very troublesome and suffer a big loss. Even if we had some experience and knowledge this time, when we really encountered something, we realized that we didn't have enough knowledge. At that time, we just couldn't wait to learn the theoretical knowledge of the year again. We must pick up all the forgotten things so that we can apply them. It is precisely because of this reason that we know the importance of these theoretical experiences and some knowledge, and these experiences, combined with practical experiences, can be transformed into our own abilities. If Lin really mastered all these experiences, and even learn these theoretical knowledges, his growth height is indeed unimaginable. Interpunct 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 interpunct, and it also makes people feel that his growth height is really too high, and Lynn is likely to belong to Noah Academy, one of the most talented students in recent times. So Williams has high expectations for Lynn. He feels that Lynn is likely to meet his definition of an absolute genius. 0 If such a person is difficult to find in the outside world, I never thought that I would encounter one in Noah College today. Therefore, such a person must be well protected, which is why Williams felt that it was more appropriate to be by Lynn's side and make Lynn the captain. Because if such a person is not well protected, it means that it is very likely that Lynn would have died when he had no experience and had not grown up. How could he let Lynn die under such circumstances? He must not only protect Lynn well. The most important thing is to let Lynn grow up smoothly. Earth. Chapter 395. Now Williams has made such a decision for himself in his heart, but Lynn doesn't know anything about it. Lynn really wanted to make his present feel a little mysterious, and when it erupted in one fell swoop, people would feel more pleasantly surprised. If Lynn had let himself say it directly in the end, when it belongs to what kind of realm, it means that all people already have a bottom in their hearts. When the principal heard what Robert and the others said just now, the principal also said to Robert, "When you were in school, although your grades in the last semester were very good, which was an excellent grade, but on weekdays, you were very naughty. Fortunately, later on, you came to your senses and made yourself a good student, and when you graduated, you were able to show a good final exam result for the last semester. Now you can still return to the academy in half a year and have the courage to directly challenge the final graduation test. This also shows that your growth rate is relatively fast. And this speed should make you feel very proud, so that you dare to go back to the academy directly and want to show your training results." Robert scratched his head. He was also a little embarrassed. Over the years, he really felt that he was useless. Only in the last year or so, I worked hard and made myself a good result. Moreover, the training in the past 6 months is indeed experienced in battle every day. It made him feel that he has grown and improved a lot, and now Robert is also talking to the principal. I have a little self-confidence. I don't know if my self-confidence can really be used in the test. I think I can pass the test. If I do this, it proves that my efforts in the past 6 months are very worthwhile. If I can't do it, I will work even harder. This shows that my actual combat experience is still lacking. I believe that if I continue to improve, I can still participate in the test after half a year, which will definitely allow me to pass. 0. Even this time, I have full confidence in myself. I feel that I can pass this test. Now my combat effectiveness has indeed improved a lot compared to when I was studying in school. Lynn was also trying to find out what he had just thought, some disadvantages of publishing the combat power in advance. Lynn thought about the difference between publishing and not publishing from the test. Instead, when Lynn asked himself to be tested, others directly judged the answer that Lynn announced. Not only are there no surprises, but if Lynn's performance is slightly abnormal or bad, it will disappoint them, which is a very good thing. If after Lynn's announcement in advance, he pretended to be a bad thing, it was Lin who really made Lin feel more depressed. Of course, I won't let myself announce this answer now. On the contrary, Lin continued to maintain this kind of special attraction and anticipation. This can arouse everyone's interest. Chapter 396. Only at the moment when this answer is revealed, can people feel the most sense of accomplishment. It's because they have let themselves guess for a long time, only to find that everyone's guesses are wrong. Lin's performance was better than that, even when Lin felt that his strategy was correct. Now Lin also knows how to make a choice, and this choice will make everyone feel satisfied. 30 Even Williams, who is an outsider, when they see the result, Lin thinks they will be satisfied. As the enjoyment of direct benefits, both Lin and the dean will definitely be satisfied. Because it was able to give Lin a better excuse to continue to ask for leave, not only did the dean make no mistakes. Instead, it was because it was the most correct decision to give Lin a vacation, and the school left this talented boy behind. If the dean really didn't give Lin a vacation, maybe Lin would have left the school directly at that time, and would never return to Noah Academy in the future. It means that Lin voluntarily abandoned Noah College, which means that if there is a day in the future, Lin will appear anywhere as a genius. He talked about a bold decision he once made, that is, Noah Academy did not give him a vacation, he left Noah Academy and grew up smoothly. It means that he belongs to a case of insulting Noah College. So there will definitely not be such a situation, it must be a good direction to guide, let the dean make a wise decision today. He felt proud, and now when the dean was thinking about this, he also said to Lin and the others, "You all did a good test this time. If you can do well in the test, it will be the pride of the academy, and anyone with good grades can go down in history. You must have seen the one in the exhibition halls of our graduates, followed by the names of the other and their deeds. They all belong to our outstanding graduates. They have also made their due contributions to the society, and they are also able to use their true strength to create their own beautiful future." The dean really hopes that the people in front of him can do the same. It is indeed because if more and more people can belong to the status of graduates of Noah College, achievements have been made. It is equivalent to promoting Noah Academy invisibly, so of course he hopes that more and more outstanding talents will appear in the society. And they are all graduates of Noah College, and now the principal is talking to Lin and the others. After graduation, don't care about what you are doing. The most important thing is to be able to make a difference in this profession. This is your future. There are some professions that look very decent and make you feel that this profession is the best, but it can't reach your full potential. This is a useless profession. There is no good or bad in a career. Only the talent that is suitable for you and the career that is suitable for you can make you develop in the long run. Chapter 397. When the principal said this, he also saw Williams nod, and even Lin nodded again. It is because Lin has a very clear understanding of these. It's like a person has the talent to strike iron. If he has to make this person a tailor, of course he has no development in the profession of tailoring. But if he can make iron, maybe he will be an excellent blacksmith in the future. Although it is a profession that is likely to be blacksmithing, it does not look so well dressed and makes it seem that it may require a lot of sweat and effort. But this person's talent is here. If he chooses other professions, it will be harmful to him. Only when he becomes a professional blacksmith, only then can he allow himself to exchange his whole life for the glory that belongs to him along this road. This is the difference. So it is very important to choose a career. Of course, whether it is Lin or Williams, they can all have time to make their own choices. What can they do in the future, or even make some attempts? It doesn't matter even if they fail, after all, they are still very young. Especially Lin, who just let himself into the academy, and has a few years to think about this issue. Then he went to the outside world to practice, and he could finally choose the most suitable answer after careful comparison. Now Lin is also talking to the principal. There is really no best career, only the most suitable career for you. As long as any career can suit you, this is a good career, and this career has a lot to do. If there is still a distinction between high and low in a profession, but the value and ability requirements actually generated by this profession are not divided into high and low, and only the most suitable people can do it well. I think a person can show his greatest talent in the simplest occupation, and can bring this occupation to a more glorious level. This is the existence that is suitable for him. When the principal heard Lin's words, he kept nodding his head. The principal also spoke directly to Lin and Williams. There is no distinction between high and low occupations. This sentence is very good. Any occupation like this is a manifestation of your talent, rather than you taking the initiative to choose an occupation. Unless the career you chose on your own initiative can be combined with your talent, then you will need to spend more effort than others to go on. This is what we often say. Since you have made up your mind to change your path, what you need to pay must be something you have already considered. If, Canely How, didn't think about it, you can let yourself do it in time, make a new choice, and make the most suitable career for you, an indispensable career in your life. It is indeed such a concept, but very few people at the age of Lin can think clearly about it. So now the principal's eyes have changed when he sees Lin, because he knows that ordinary people can't say this. Chapter 398. Since Lin can have such a feeling, it proves that Lin has a clear goal and knows what he wants to do. He also knows what he wants to change in the end, so for Lin, he just needs to make himself continue to work hard. And this kind of effort should be towards a clear goal, which is much shorter than the cycle time that others can grow. It is possible to make Lin a talent as soon as possible, and now the Dean is also talking to Lin. Every year when we do ideological work for students, we need to spend all our time to make them understand this truth, but you will understand it early without thinking of you. If you can all understand the truth, we won't have to work so hard, and you will have more goals in the process of learning. Only when you have goals will you have motivation. With the support of this motivation, you will be able to learn better, and you will be able to adapt to life as soon as possible after graduation. It can also allow you to go further and further in what you want to do, and even make some good achievements. This is what we hope. Lin and the others nodded. For them these things loved as belong to both being able to make them clear now. Of course, they need to continue to persevere, Lin also said to the Dean. Everyone doesn't understand this truth, because they don't understand various professions and their talents, so this kind of deviation occurs. If you can correctly understand the relationship between your talent and your career, and you can confirm this matter when you enter the academy, there won't be much deviation. I think this is not only about mobilizing thoughts when you graduate, but also when you first enter the academy. At least the students who have made up their minds can guide themselves how to work hard through ideological education, and those who also plan to change their careers can also change according to the trend. The truth that Lin said is actually very simple, that is, when some people enter the academy, their hearts are fearful and ignorant, and they don't know many things. Even Lin doesn't know some things right now. How to make these students understand the truth depends on the Dean's propaganda and timely telling the student what his own talents and specialties are. If there is a conflict with the future career, you need to see how the student makes a choice. If he chooses well, he can return to his own talent. If he really made up his mind to change, then it is precisely during school that he can study hard to make a change. This can also be regarded as a responsibility for this student, and if we wait until graduation to talk about these things, it is indeed a bit late. But Lin couldn't say that when he graduated, he wanted to do ideological education. It was too late. Lin could only say his own advice. Chapter 399. Lin hopes that the suggestion can be adopted. If it can be adopted, it is the best. If not, Lin thinks that he has nothing to lose. It's because Lin himself has already thought about these things. Whether other people can think about it and understand that Lin thinks that if he is his friend, maybe Lin will persuade him. If it's not Lin's friend, even if he doesn't understand it, it's just his own personal choice, and what does it have to do with Lin's? After all, being able to manage himself is the most important thing for Lin, and being able to manage a few friends around him successfully has already reached Lin's greatest ability. If Lin wasted any more time making other choices, Lin might as well use this time to read one more book. Or go outside more often to find some opportunities to make money, and get yourself a set of equipment. The principal was also chatting casually with Williams and others, and the dean echoed by the side. Because some preparations in the test area need to be done. So there is no need to go to the testing area so early. When all the preparations are done there will naturally be staff and teachers who will reply to the dean. At that time, the dean can take Lin and the others to the testing area together, and there are corresponding staff for every link there. These things I am doing can ensure that the data tested are real and effective, and that all the results of the test are normal data results belonging to this person. There will never be any deviation. It will only follow up on the person's on-the-spot state and send out the most fair data. This is one of the reasons why the graduation certificate in Noah College can be recognized by everyone. Of course, this test method has also been recognized by many people. Because there is really no way to fake this kind of test, and there is no way to evaluate all aspects of the data, it is because of the means of each test when the data is tested. It also belongs to the various countries here, and some are their big families, and they often use the method. After the dean received the news, he went to the principal's side and said to the principal, interpunct 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 interpunct. The test area is ready and we can let ourselves test at any time. I think we should do the relevant tests now. This way, we can know the results as soon as possible. What I'm most interested in now is what Lin's test results look like. I just want to see how strong his combat effectiveness can be. This can also prove that my vision is wrong, and it can also prove whether the vacation I gave him should be. If it is wrong, I will admit it. The principal nodded, and when he let everyone out, he also said to the dean, "Your vision over the years is pretty good. And I also believe that you can perform better, but you need to be more careful yourself. After all, our Noah Academy's reputation has been established over the years, and I don't want this reputation to be destroyed in the end. We can't afford to lose that person, and we can't bear this infamy." 2. Chapter 400. We can't let the reputation of Noah College die in our hands. And Noah College will inevitably become more brilliant with our joint efforts. The principal also told Lin and the others that the reputation of Noah College not only needs to be maintained by these teachers in the school, but also allows the college to continue to develop. And everyone who goes out takes pride in being a student of Noah College. Even when Lin and the others went to the outside world, as long as they mentioned that they were students of Noah Academy, they could win the respect of some people. This has already made Lin and the others more confident when they live outside. It can also allow Lin and the others to get some help from the reputation of Noah Academy when they are living. Therefore, the reputation of Noah College is very important, and it also needs the common maintenance of everyone. This maintenance is not only required by the teachers of the school. Even if it is like Lin and the others after they graduate, they still need to maintain it, if a student really does a lot of wrong things. In the end, when everyone knew that he belonged to Noah College, it would also affect the reputation of Noah College. And when there are more such students, some people will doubt the quality of Noah College's teaching, so one or two people are not successful. Even doing bad things outside will not have any impact on Noah Academy. Many students go to the outside world and do wrong things or fail to succeed. This has already had a great impact on Noah College. The reputation of Noah College is jointly maintained by teachers and all students. It is not necessarily the responsibility of students, nor does it mean that it is entirely the responsibility of teachers. When Lin heard this, he also said to the principal, "It is true that reputation is very important to both academies and students. An academy's reputation is maintained by everyone, and a student's reputation is maintained by himself. When a student's reputation is good, it means that it can lead to a better reputation of Noah College, so the reputation of a student is helpful to Noah College. This is the same thing in reverse. The common maintenance of Noah College's reputation is something that every student should do, whether it is a student or a graduate student." 0. Williams also said to the principal, "Headmaster, you should also have a good heart. No matter where we go, we will not lose the face of Noah College. We will work hard to make ourselves a real talent. We will also let ourselves tell everyone that we are graduates of Noah College, and we have not disgraced Noah College, and will let them recognize us through our diploma. We will use our ability to prove that we are eligible for graduation, and we will also use our practical actions to maintain the reputation of our college. This is what we should do." The principal was very happy when he heard Lin and the others make such a statement. He is proud to have such students, and also feels that if every student has such an idea, Noah College can definitely be built very well, and there is no worry that Noah College will not be able to develop in the future. Chapter 401. The principal took Lin and the others to the test area. Now all the teachers in the test area are ready, but Lin doesn't know the content of these tests. Lin only has experience in the test when he was enrolled. As for whether he can agree with the current test experience, Lin does not know yet. But Lin knew at least his own realm. No matter how he tested it, he could still test the combat effectiveness of the corresponding solution. Lin is not worried about this, so no matter how he tests, Lin thinks he can meet the needs. Now the principal has also made assignments, so that all three people can take the test at the same time, instead of taking the test one after the other. This is because sometimes, graduates will come with a lot of people, and if all the people are swarming in line, it will delay a lot of time. So in the test area, many tests can be done at the same time, and now Lin has also brought himself to the front of a teacher. As for the principal and the dean of education, the two were also separated. Alongside Lin and Robert, there was another dean of education. He also followed William's side, and the principal followed Lin himself, which made Lin feel some pressure. Lin knew that this belonged to the principal who did not believe in his own fighting power. So I want to see if the combat power can be reflected in the level of only passing. Or is it really like what Lin and the others said before? It will surprise the principal and the others, and now the principal is also talking to Lin. Don't be nervous, just take a normal test. Every test item can reflect your normal level. As long as the final comprehensive score is better, it doesn't matter even if the score is a little weaker. After all, not everyone is perfect. This is also the reason why there is a need for a test area, because only in the test area can you get the most comprehensive evaluation. The teacher also first registered Lin and asked Lin to fill in the occupation. Wait until Lin fills in the class at that time. The teacher was very surprised, and he asked Lin casually, "Did you hear the class correctly? You are actually a third-year student. Generally, only graduate students have such a test. He also knew that there should be no mistake with the principal by his side. The principal also spoke directly to the teacher. He is a student who has taken a long vacation, so he must take the test again to see if he has practiced hard during the vacation. It happened that these two graduates came to test today, so let the three of them complete the test together. We just need to follow the normal test items. The teacher nodded when he heard this, and he also said to Lin, "No wonder you're only a third-year student. I wish you good luck and pass our test. Our test is divided into several items. Now follow me to the first test. Just do as I say. I didn't ask you to do any extra actions. Remember not to try randomly. This may affect the judgment of your final grade, so you have to remember it yourself." Chapter 402. You must do as I ask, plus your own temporary state, so that you can achieve the best results, so you just need to relax now. When the teacher said this, he also took Lin to the first test area, and Lin understood when he saw this area. This is a test area for strength, which is the worst for Lin, because Lin's profession is a magician here. Instead of Lin, the most traditional wizard's profession, it's because Lin knows that the world still agrees with the profession of wizards. Although there is no objection to the profession of wizards, there are very few people who belong to wizards. Therefore, if Lin is going to use his thunder element to exert its power, it is okay to regard himself as a magician. As long as you can show your true magician and sorcerer professions in actual battles, if you have both, there will be no problem. Now when Lin was looking at the place where the strength was tested, the teacher also said to Lin, "You can use your own fists and feet or your own shoulders, elbows, and knees to attack the ball in front of you 10 times. You can choose the attack position. After testing this intention, do the same thing against the wall. You only need to be able to complete 10 consecutive attacks. These are to data. The last item is an optional item, that is, using your own weapon, using a pickup truck or other attack methods to attack the lock in front of you in the same way." When the teacher saw Lin nodding, the teacher also said directly to Lin, "Dividing 3 options according to your own occupation, I think you can avoid it directly. You only need to do the first 2 necessary subjects to count the data. After all, this is not what you are good at, and it only belongs to the division of your occupation, so you can test your physical fitness." Lin nodded, because Lin knew that the magician's body is still slightly weak. Of course, this is compared with the profession of warrior, but it does not mean that every magician is a patient. On the contrary, the magician is also a healthy person, but once the magician's body is too weak and the patient is equated, it means that the magician's combat effectiveness will decline. Because when any occupation is ill, it is the same. Now when the teacher told Lin how to do it, Lin also said to the teacher, "Is there a time limit for each of my attacks? Or is it enough to allow me to complete 10 attacks in a slightly consistent manner, regardless of the process of accumulating power after each attack?" Kane Li Zhao. He always saw that Lin asked in such a detailed manner, and he also told Lin that the time limit for each attack must be completed within 10 seconds. It means that 10 attacks will take 100 seconds. But if other changes are added, it is allowed to be considered qualified within 120 seconds, and this kind of test has been completed. Lin also smiled when he heard this, which was not difficult for him. Chapter 403. The reason why Lin felt that it was not too difficult was because Lin knew that there was absolutely no problem with the health of his body. Even stronger than the average magician, so let Lin do this. Lin thought that he should belong to the relatively powerful type of magician. If it is compared with the warrior's profession, perhaps Lin's power is really not worth mentioning. But if he simply compared with the same type of magician, Lin thought that he would definitely be no worse than them. Lin also came to the front, and the principal also fought with the teacher. At the same time, the teacher had a score sheet in his hand, ready to record according to Lin's actual performance. The teacher is also a machine that is always ready to press the hands-on countdown timer. Now that Lin has found there, he has begun to let himself breathe, although it is said that Lin does not know how to exert force temporarily. But Lin knows how to use his power as much as possible. Now when Lin's first punch hits the ball, the teacher has already pressed the timer in an instant, and Lin's punch is not too fast. He used a normal combination of punches, and with the impact of his knees, the strength of Lin's second punch was very strong. Then, with the help of the ball swinging back and forth, the strength of Lin's knee was maximized. Lin originally wanted to push himself a little farther for the last kick, but now Lin also gave up. This choice was made because Lin knew that the strength test was just an auxiliary result, and there was no need to waste a lot of his physical strength in this level. When it came to other levels, he found that his physical strength was already insufficient, and Lin must be asked to comprehensively consider how to use his strength. That's why Lin is only using it now. It's the same as boxing. Of course, the impact of Lin's knee is more like the movement in Sanda. Lin didn't care about these, just let himself do the test. Moreover, the power of Lin's fist really made the teacher see the surprise. The teacher also said to the principal, "I didn't expect Lin's power to be so great. His power can be tested among the students of this class of magicians. So far, he can occupy the top 3. If we compare the average grades and the students of the year, he should also be able to see the top 10 or so. This shows that his strength is not only very big, but also ranked very high, which proves his strength. Excellent can do some things with strength, and his body can also remain very healthy. It can be seen from the full test of the ball here that it is about 150% higher than our average magician's strength score. This is indeed a very good score." The principal nodded when he heard the teacher's words, and he also said to the teacher, "Strength is only part of the reference data. After all, for us, the health of magicians is more important than their strength. When we test their strength, we are actually indirectly testing the health of the magician." Chapter 404. Lin didn't know what the result of his performance this time was, but Lin really did his best, and Lin also felt that he was in good shape during the strength test. Now, when he finished playing the ball, Lin also came to Ken. But this time Lin prepared himself in advance, and only stopped when he stepped back 3 or 4 meters. Now when the teacher saw Lin's movements, he also said to Lin, "If you are ready, you can do it at any time. You don't need to worry about me here. I will start the time at any time according to your actual situation. As long as it doesn't happen suddenly, it doesn't matter. I can always take precautions and help you control your time. It's best not to waste time or affect your grades." Lin nodded when he heard this, and after he took 2 steps back, he made a ready gesture. When the teacher noticed this, Lin ran 2 steps in a row, made himself fly, and kicked on the wall. The wall could already be seen shaking. When Lin kicked the wall, he let himself hit the wall with his knees twice in a row. It's like the little gangsters when they are fighting. The movements they often use are used by Lin. When Lin hit the wall with his knees twice in a row, Lin also let himself adjust Lin's elbow again, and created the wall again. This is also a movement that is often used when gangsters fight. That is, with such an action, the opponent can be directly checked at one time, so he is allowed to appear with such an action. But Lin's main purpose is to show his strength as much as possible, because if the ball just uses these movements, he is not particularly good at mastering the skills. And now, this wall is the best object for Lin to practice hands, so Lin considers himself a more powerful movement. This time, all of them were used. Lin used these actions, which shocked the teacher very much. interpunct 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 interpunct. The data of the strength test is very obvious, and the teacher also said to the principal next to him, "Yaren's data just now has exceeded our original average by 350%. This is also the first data in the past 30 years. Especially Lin's first 3 attacks, the power displayed by each attack is very powerful, which is similar to that of a soldier who has just entered the school." 0. Now Lin's skill, if he is asked to choose the profession of warrior, it is actually in line with it. After all, he is just a student who has just entered the school. The teacher was also very surprised, and he went on to say to the principal, "But now Lin has chosen the devil mage, and he has made breakthroughs in this profession, so he must continue to persevere on the road of mage. I really want to see how good Lin really is, and what kind of magician's combat power he can bring out to show us how much magical energy is contained under such a strong body." Chapter 405. Lin just let himself go all out, and the specific results are all left to the teacher's judgment. Now that he has finished these actions, Lin is also standing there and resting. And he didn't know if the teacher lets him move now, so he just stood here. And the teacher is also surprised by the data. He also said to the principal, "In the last 30 years of data, Ying and Lin are on the same level. If the two data are superimposed together, Lin is the first person in the past 100 years. I never thought that a magician could train his body so well. Even if he escaped with this body, it wouldn't be a problem. I'm also eager to see how Lin's agility is. After all, magicians with high agility are better at avoiding opponents' attacks." When the principal heard the teacher's excitement, He also showed a little smile, because for him, Lin belongs to the profession of magician. So in the beginning of the strength test, the principal didn't pay too much attention to it. He just thought that Lin could reach the passing level. In this way, Lin can be guaranteed to have a qualified physique, at least during the battle. He will not be dragged down by his own body. Everyone knows that magicians need to rely on spirit and meditation to make themselves more magical reserves, so in normal times, in addition to relying on foreign objects, they need to rely on themselves. And the biggest requirement of relying on oneself is the need for a magician like Lin to be able to do things. In addition to having better energy, you need them to have better physical strength. No matter which of these two, intentions are actually indispensable, but in terms of physical strength, they are not as strict as warriors. They are now paying more attention to the items of the magician. As for the temporary test items, for the magician, it is only an auxiliary verification. Now when I heard the teacher's evaluation, the principal also said to the teacher with a smile, "It's really not easy for a magician to break our school's 100-year record, and I want to tell you that he just came to report. 0, he didn't attend a day of class in our school, so he was specially granted leave by the dean. Even today, wouldn't you be even more surprised? I also want to see if such a person can finally produce such results. I also want to see if he will shock everyone when he achieves such results. However, the health of a magician's body and his last other aspects are not particularly affected, it's just the continuation of the combat effectiveness and whether it can last." When the principal finished saying this, the teacher nodded. He really felt that way. It was really surprising to see a new data coming out. The 350% figure is definitely a figure that will be difficult to surpass in the future. Now that I can witness this data, the teacher is of course very excited, and I feel that I belong to a person who can witness history. He also felt very honored, as if this achievement was his breakthrough. Chapter 406. When the principal and the teacher said a few more words, they found that Lin was still standing there, and felt that he might have directly ignored Lin just now. Now the teacher is also talking to Lin. "You can come here. After each test is completed, there is a pause period of 10 seconds and 8 seconds, so that we can have a buffer. There's no need to let yourself stand there all the time. Even for the later tests, you can come back to us after you complete a buffer period. But be careful not to walk around randomly. Maybe you walk around in the test area or do some other actions, which will also affect our final data analysis and statistics." Now, after the teacher announced this result 01, he also told Lin that it belongs to the standard of excellence, and Lin didn't care about it. Because he didn't know that he had broken through Noah College's historical achievements, and now the principal sees Lin's calm appearance, but feels that Lin's personality is very mature. The teacher thinks that it is very likely that Lin does not know what the current grade means. The teacher also said to Lin, "Do you know that your highest score in a single item has exceeded the 30-year historical record of this test recorded by all the magicians of our Noah Academy? If the comprehensive scores are superimposed on the power judgment, you belong to the scores of the magicians of our Noah Academy, the latest breaker of the century-old record in the historical records. Your score is the same as the temporary score in the normal entrance test, and even your strength has exceeded 350% of that of a magician." The principal also smiled at Asia and said, "You have successfully aroused my interest now. It's just a test that has nothing to do with magicians, and you can get such a result. This shows that on the real battlefield, you have stronger stamina than others, and even if you run away, you can run farther than others. Don't forget, our profession as a magician is not only about standing on the spot to compete with opponents, but not only to allow ourselves to attack the opponent, but also to avoid the opponent. I can see your power. Even when neither of you have any magic power at the same time, you can beat the magician on the other side with your strength. Only then did Lin know that his grades were like this, and of course a happy smile appeared on his face. For Lin, as long as he can make a breakthrough in his performance, whether it is a breakthrough in a single project or a breakthrough in the whole, as long as you can add points to the final score. Lin now also wants to see what kind of results he can produce. If at the beginning, Lin thought that he only needed to be able to pass the school test, now Lin has changed his mind. Lin's more idea is that since he has already tested it, he should thoroughly test his current state. Only when he has a clear understanding of his state can Lin continue to do better. Chapter 407. Lin only thought that when planning the next step, he had a basis for reference, if he didn't know his current grades now. Even if he wants to do any planning, it is only a rough plan, not to mention Lin really wants to test the steps and principles in reality. Because Lin felt that he might be able to do these tests in his own laboratory in the future. Even if he were able to do most of the tests, it would save Lin from being the same as he is now. Every time you want to test your results or test your own items, you need to go back to school or find a testing agency in an outside trade union to test yourself. Now when Lin is thinking about this, Lin is also suitable for school principals and teachers to come to the front of another intention test project together. Now the teacher also knows, Lin doesn't know anything about these things. Moreover, Lin has never been in school for a day. This is what surprised the teacher the most. He also wanted to know what kind of strength such a person can show. It can also prove why the school was able to grant him such a long vacation. So now the teacher is also very interested. It is precisely because of this interest that every test makes him more serious. And I also felt that Lin had to know how to take the test. Now the teacher is also talking to Lin. The most important thing in this test is to test your agility, because only those with higher agility can dodge more sensitively. You can reflect your performance through speed and dodge. The speed is the one-way speed that requires you to run from one end to the other, and the other is the barren speed after 5 rounds. This is a test of the fastest speed and a speed after endurance, and there is another test of sensitivity, which is in the area next to you. The teacher saw that when Lin was already looking in the direction he pointed with his finger, he knew that Lin must know the test in that area, and the teacher then said to Lin, as long as you can avoid the objects and obstacles on the ground, and run to the opposite side at the fastest speed, even if you have completed the one-way test. When you run back again, there will be something in the air that affects your speed. This is a test of your sensitivity and dodging ability. As long as you can run back smoothly, it can be regarded as a one-time result. After 3 consecutive times, the highest score and the average score are recorded separately. This is your score in this category. If you understand it, you can now move your hands and feet, because this test requires you to move your hands and feet well, with Xiao, to achieve the best results. According to Lin's idea, this test for assassins and warriors, what I didn't expect is that even magicians need to do such a test. This is a test item that Lin didn't think about before, but since the college has regulations for such a test, it proved that it is very likely that they have their own goals, so Lin also let himself move his joints and hands and feet as much as possible. Chapter 408. Lin's method during his activities has already been reflected, and he is different from other students. Because other student activities are achieved through some running, jumping, or some other simple methods. Although Lin's method is also very simple, it is obvious that it is different. Lin stretches his ligaments. After Lin stretched out his feet as far as possible from the side of his body, he began to press down hard. When he pressed down further, he could see that Lin's toes were already rushing up. I try my best to make my own during the process of stretching and re-stretching the leg. It is obvious that the ligaments and the tendons of the leg have been loosened and tightened with this stretching. When the principal saw Lin's actions, his eyes lit up, and he also said to the teacher beside him, "Although Lin's warm-up exercise is different from other people's, it is obvious that he can see the purpose of such a warm-up, and it is more obvious and able to let him move all his joints and muscles. Especially, some meridians in the joints and muscles are not very active originally, but by stretching them like this, they can easily achieve the purpose of activities. His method is worthy of our study and reference. I didn't expect to see something different in such a simple thing. It really belongs to a talented student." The teacher also nodded and said to the principal, "We must get his most real data into our hands, so as to ensure that we can not only grasp the first-hand information, but also allow us to protect the student. Jiankai only has their own talents before they grow up. Only those who grow up can be useful natural talents. We can be proud of this. Especially the competitions of our various colleges in a few years, if we can make Lin grow up, it will be very helpful for us." The principal nodded when he heard what the teacher said. It was indeed a small comparison between the practice every 5 years and the practice every 10 years, and there was a big competition between various colleges. This is a very important college exchange project for everyone, and this time is a big competition every 10 years. Therefore, it makes everyone feel that they need to pay more attention. If Lin can grow up smoothly after 3 years, it means that the ranking of the college can be higher. Because after 3 years, Lin is only a student who has not graduated yet, so he will definitely be able to participate in the academy. In this competition, he will definitely win honors for the academy. So now it's up to Lin if he can successfully reach the flowering stage in 3 years, when the principal thinks so. In fact, he still doesn't know that Lin has reached the final stage, so now Lin has got rid of his status as a magic apprentice and has become a magician. Even according to the current results, Lin does not belong to a junior magician. It belongs to the junior third-level magician, and one step further is the intermediate magician. Lin doesn't know what the principal and the teacher are planning. Instead, he is still doing his own joint activities. Because he has to concentrate on stretching training,